Aita for telling my husband his job as a stay-at-home dad is only easy because I help out. I tried to post it on other subreddits, but they keep removing it because my account is new. I am writing this from the guest bedroom because my husband and I had a fight. So, the thing is, my husband is a stay-at-home dad. 3 years ago he wanted to quit his job and take care of the house and children, 6F and 2 matter. I work a decent job and earn most of the money. My husband takes pride in being a SAHD. He always brags about how it is the easiest job in this world, and women are just complaining for no reason. But the truth is, I help him with the chores as much as I can. In the morning I wake up and fix the breakfast for them. My husband gets our daughter ready for school. I also do meal preps for lunch. All he has to do is assemble them and cook it. I pack my and my daughter's lunch when I'm at work. He does the cleaning and spends time with our son, or does his thing. Later when I come home, I cook the dinner and give my son a bath, help my daughter with her schoolwork, or I play with them for some time until bedtime. Besides that, whenever we do laundry, I fold the clothes that he washes and put them away. And during deep cleaning of our house, we split the tasks 50-50. I also handle all the doctor's appointment. This system works really well, but I hate that he thinks my contribution is not enough. That he does all the chores, and I do not even lift a finger. Moreover, he has a blog and TikTok where he films his days. He also makes posts about how easy it is to be a SAHD and women just complain and full of it. It is the easiest job in this world. I am glad he likes it, but I hate he thinks he is superior to everyone and invalidating their experience. I grew up in a house where my dad didn't even lift a finger and my mom did literally everything around the house. He was the fun dad doing bare minimum. So, I do not want that to happen to my husband. Also, it is my house too. I believe if both people do chores, the stress becomes less. Also, I know many of my friends who struggle with doing chores as a sachem. I also know women who work and still do majority of the chores. And his comments makes me irritated. So, yesterday my friend Ashley came to visit. She is a mother of 2. Her son probably has ADHD and very much active. She has trouble handling her son and gets no help from her husband. Her son breaks a cup in our house. Ashley was saying sorry. My husband cleaned it up and she was complaining how exhausted she is. My husband scoffed and told her, "You must be doing the parent thing wrong, because I am a stay-at-home parent too, but I never had problem. My wife barely does anything around the house and it is so easy. Maybe I should give you a lesson or two." I can see Ashley was upset. I understand why. Later that day I told him what he said to Ashley was very rude. My husband acted as if he said nothing wrong and was honest. I pointed that he doesn't do all the chores. I help him with at least 40%, that's why he thinks it is easy. He again argued that those chores are not significant compared to what he does. I told him he is being mean to everyone. We got lucky that our kids are easy and not active. Most of the kids are hard to handle. He again scoffed and said how hard can it be. We argued about this, and he told me I am being ungrateful, because no man would ever sacrifice like he did. I am upset and gave him some space. Was I wrong to point it out? Edit. Just want to point out, I have no issues of him being a SAHD. I just don't like his attitude towards it and the way he thinks it is the easiest job in this world, because to me and most of the people it is still a job that has no vacation days. Comments. Commenter 1. Why are you okay with him putting down your contributions and devaluing you? Especially in front of your children? His attitude is a problem, and your children are being exposed to this daily. YWBTA to yourself if you allow this to continue. Stop enabling him to put others down and stand up for yourself. Stop doing his job for him and let him step up. Or, as he is apparently telling others, doing everything around the house. If he wants a chance to prove to everyone that being a SAHD is so easy, then you should support him and give him that chance by letting him do what he claims to already have to do, which is everything. Commenter 2. I was a stay-at-home mom. My children are now adults. I did all of the household chores. Laundry, cooking, and cleaning. I did all of the yard work. We had an acre. I volunteered in their schools and music programs that often took 30 hours a week. My husband did story time and often took care of bedtime. I considered the household tasks to be my job. I wouldn't have dreamt of telling someone else how they were doing it wrong. What an entitled and terribly rude comment. And he has a blog to tell strangers how to better manage their time. He doesn't even cook dinner, for heaven's sake. Please, commenter 3, NTA. He sounds exhausting and unaware of how self-centered he is. Parenting isn't a competition between him and you. It's a team sport where you both have to participate. Sounds like you are doing more in context in the home and outside the home. love seeing a SHD, but he needs a swift kick in the SS for being full of himself. Not valuing your contributions and his misogynistic comments. Stop doing what you're doing and let him truly be a SAHD. NTA, commenter 4, I've worked jobs with big OT, and I've been a SAHD for a while now, and it's as much a full-time job as any other. Worse even, since you're never really off the clock. And days where I get bogged down fixing something or doing annual maintenance on the house or the like, it can be exhausting to catch back up on regular daily chores like dishes while the baby is demanding a bottle. A kid needs put to bed, and all my daylight is already gone. If my wife helps out with the laundry or something, you can count on my noticing and appreciating it. Sounds like your husband is being spoiled by you and doesn't even realize it. Honestly, maybe you should be a bit on an AH about this. Don't help out at all for a few weeks, but keep asking why things aren't done. He'll figure it out. Update. Aita for telling my husband his job as a stay-at-home dad is only easy because I help out? Okay. I took everyone's advice and stopped working my part of the chores. I did tell him beforehand, since he thinks my contribution to the housework is nothing, then I will stop doing everything altogether. I told him since he thinks being a SAHD is easy, then he should have the full experience of it. My friend's husband doesn't even lift a finger around the house. So I wouldn't too. He was obviously upset. He wanted to argue I cannot do this to him. He even tried to pull the incompetence card. I told him I am not going to do my portion of the job at home. I also gave the typical excuse. I work all day at my office so that we can survive on one income. It is selfish for him to expect me to do housework. That's what I did. I didn't do any housework. I didn't wake up in the morning and made breakfast. My husband had to do it. It wasn't hard for him. But I can see he was moody. I asked him to prepare my lunch because that is also my job. He refused at first, but then I told him he said he will do all the household chores too. That includes my lunch as well. He only packed me a peanut butter jelly sandwich. I didn't do meal prep for lunch. It was his to figure out. At night when I came home, I didn't make dinner. I asked him to do it. He was shocked but did it anyways. I didn't give my son a bath. He is fussy, which pissed my husband off. I only helped my daughter with her homework. I didn't help him with the laundry. The first few days he didn't say a word, but after a week, it was showing that he is getting exhausted. He was getting more and more angry at small stuff, and usually cleaning would cool him off. But whenever he sees a mess, he throws a tantrum. In the weekends, I went to my mother's house to relax that weekend. We were supposed to clean our bathrooms. He did that all by himself. As the days progressed, I can see him being really angry at me. Even I admit, it has affected our intimacy a lot. At last, after 2 weeks, he told me basically yelled that I proved my point. Things are back to normal, but I can see he is very distant with me. Last night I asked him to talk to me. He said he knew what game I was playing, but he did not appreciate me treating him like garbage and not considering his feelings. I told him it was his words that being a SAHD is easy. I just gave him the full experience of it. He kept denying that I should have been more supportive. All these weeks he felt like nobody and so underappreciated. He felt invisible. He started to hate me for not giving a fuck and dumping everything on him. He is still not talking to me. We have booked a couples therapy session next week. Let's see if our relationship sustains or not. Comments. Commenter 1. You're telling me that a SAHP that does everything around the house, while the other parent does nothing but work, feels exhausted and unappreciated. What? How could he have possibly known that? Except for the barrage of women who told him they felt this way for years. But that doesn't count. After all, being a SAHP is easy, right? They were just being dramatic. Commenter 2. I think it goes without saying, but NTA, not gonna lie. He sounds pretty toxic. Even when he has his come-to-Jesus moment, he's not actually recognizing that what he's feeling is exactly the thing he was demeaning others for. He thought it was easy, learned it's not, and instead of recognizing it, he pushes everything off on you. I really hope your counseling works OP, because he really needs it. Commenter 3. You've destroyed his ability to make himself feel superior to the women he has been criticizing. And he's pissed at you for it instead of being pissed at himself for behaving like a misogynistic prick. As a SAHD, he is doing work that has historically been done by women, and he is being financially supported by a woman. He likely feels that if he isn't doing it better than women do it, he's being emasculated. His male ego won't allow him to accept that he's not any better than the women who are sames. This is his issue, not yours, and he needs to work that out. ETA, a lot of SAHMs do everything he was doing while still trying to recuperate from childbirth, or while pregnant with their next child, so he didn't even have the full experience that so many women have. Until he does, he doesn't get to tell anyone they have it easy, and he's so much better at it than they are. Commenter 4 Wow. The old dose of your own medicine? Love it? He deserved it for making out like he had it so easy. Hopefully, therapy will show him that what you did was literally the only way to make him see how much easier you were making his life. Good luck to you. NTA final update. Aita for telling my husband his job as a stay-at-home dad is only easy because I help out. This will probably be my last and final update. I wanted to let your guys know, we are not getting a divorce like some of you hoped and cursed me out in my PMs. Like seriously, who wishes to a stranger that their husbands should cheat on them? We did go to counseling, and yes, I sincerely apologized for my childish behavior because of a Reddit post I made. We discovered a lot of things about us and our relationships at the counseling sessions. Firstly, I apologized to him and explained why I did that. I wanted him to feel like it is not easy if you do not have help. I also mentioned my mother's experience in being the caretaker of the family, and doing it all alone is exhausting, which I think now is a stupid way to get my point across. But I was hurt and very annoyed that he thinks women just complain about housework, when most of them, I am sure, doesn't have help from their spouses. He expressed that he gets it. And those few weeks when I didn't help him really took a toll on him. He doesn't get tired easily, but since he was doing all of it, it was tiring him. I acknowledge that. After a lot of talking and communicating, we came to the root cause. He said that sometimes he feels insecure about himself, like he is not doing enough for us. All of his guy friends have jobs. They provide for their family. His friend bragged about taking his wife to vacation in Greece. He felt small compared to that because he only made us dinner and gave me a massage. On the other hand, I gifted him a very expensive watch. He felt like he was supposed to be the provider of this family, but he feels really small because I am out here doing good in my career, and he feels stuck. It was one of those moments that made me cry. I liked it when he made dinner for me and gave me a massage. He is a good cook. I asked him if he wants to go back in the workplace. If that is the case, he will have my full support. I know then things will change a lot. We both have to make compromises, but it will be worth it because I love him and he is the best husband anyone could ask for. He says he doesn't want to handle the pressure of workplace. Last time he crashed and decided to quit. He likes being a stay-at-home dad but also wants to earn, so he is looking for a part-time job while doing what we used to do. I encouraged him to look into freelancing and remote work. He did find one, but it is low pay, so the search for a decent job is still in the hunt. And he did apologize to my friend Ashley. He realized not everyone has it easy. I mean, we hit the jackpot with the kids because they are pretty quiet. People have different struggles. I know he is sincere because he deleted his blog posts about being a SAHD being easy. Also, unrelated, Ashley is getting a divorce. Good for her, I guess. We are fine. Our children are fine. We still have one more session of therapy left. Our intimate lives are better. We found a way to better communicate with each other rather than being petty. I was scared that our marriage will collapse, but I am glad we stood strong. Comments, Commenter 1, glad it is working out. Thank you for the update. You were not petty. If you didn't show him what it was like with no help like many stay-at-home parents, he would probably still be acting superior and belittling SAHM experiences. Glad that counseling helped. Commenter 2, your takeaway was that you were being childish? You're disappointed in striking? How Stephen Amell of you? Your husband was misogynistic, lacked empathy, seemed to enjoy being cruel to your friend. Misery loves company, and was a vindictive child to you. While I'm relieved your husband can identify and communicate his insecurities, I do not believe he realizes his cruelty. You're rug sweeping it because the man you love is in pain. Be careful. His vitriol will come out again if he ever feels vulnerable. If he goes back to work outside the home, then the children will likely spend less time around him, probably lessen their chances of becoming like him. I suppose that makes this a positive update. Commenter 3, sounds like he sees women's work as beneath him. So to prove to himself and others this is the case, he had to belittle it and make sure just how easy women's work is. If he's insecure about how much he's contributing to the family, why wouldn't he try to do more around the house, especially since it's easy? He wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to do the bare minimum, while boasting that he does it all with ease. He wants the credit for your work, and was upset that he could no longer take credit for your free labor and get to feel good about himself. And he doesn't want the stress of the workplace, but can't handle the stress of doing the stay-at-home work. He just wants an easy life, no matter what it's costing you. I hope this is just the beginning of a lot of unpacking your husband's misogyny and laziness. Commenter 4, I'm glad you're happy or WTV, but I feel sad for you. You've been gaslit into believing your actions were childish, and that your husband is somehow an amazing one. The same husband who made misogynistic comments is the most amazing husband anyone could ask for. The same husband who trashed you for not lifting a finger in front of others. The same husband who spread about how women everywhere are liars for saying being a Som is hard. Yeah, definitely the most amazing husband anyone could ask for. Both of you are sweeping the real issue under the rug, and it is going to bear its ugly head again. I just hope next time it's not of a bigger magnitude, and you're not left with resentful kids and wondering, when did he change? BC, he didn't change. You were just willfully ignorant of his real nature. Stories number 2. My 27F boyfriend, 29M of 7 years, cheated on me. I'm going to disappear from his life. Is there anything I'm missing? I 27F just found out my boyfriend, 29M of 7 years, cheated on me. My boyfriend went to our home state to see his family for the weekend. He's been going quite often this year, about once a month, saying it is because his grandparents are old and miss him. I thought nothing of it until this morning. I got a screenshot from a mutual friend of ours of my boyfriend's location on Snapchat. He was at his parents' house, but a girl's Bitmoji was there as well. It wasn't his sister or mom, and his parents, who weirdly also have Snapchat, weren't home either. He didn't tell me he was going to be with anyone else today. I tried to call him, but he did not pick up. I looked on Snapchat and his location was turned off. The mutual friend says my boyfriend has told everyone at home we had broken up 4 months ago. He said my boyfriend was making him stay quiet about it because he was trying to find the right time to tell me. As far as his parents know, he's moving home once our lease is up. The reason our mutual friend told me was because he walked in on my boyfriend and the girl hooking up with each other this morning. I texted an old friend who lives in my hometown, and she immediately asked why my boyfriend was on Tinder. We caught up and she sent me proof his photos on Tinder and his bio. It hurt to see that photos I took of him were used. He had even covered my face in a photo we took together and said, "This could be you." I had no idea his family thought we were broken up and that he was looking for other people to date. We even went to Italy a month ago, celebrating our 7-year anniversary. I'm so confused and I don't know what to do. I look around and everything in our apartment seems like a lie. The soon-to-be ex texted me just now and he is on his flight back. He'll be back in about 5 hours, obviously. He can find his own way to the apartment from the airport. I'm shocked and numb. But my best friend is with me, helping me pack up all my clothes. I'm leaving, and I'm not leaving a trace of myself behind. Our dog is coming with me, and I'll be staying at my best friend's place for now. My soon-to-be ex and I already have separate bank accounts, and our joint bank account does not have much in it right now. I make more than he does, so he can keep it. I can't go to the leasing office because it's closed on Sundays, but I sent an email asking for early termination on the lease. We're registered as domestic partners, so I've completed the termination form and will drive it up to the LA County office tomorrow. He is on my health insurance, and I've sent the email to HR to kick him off ASAP. We have several large photo albums together, and I'm not sure what to do with those. Keeping them would be too difficult, but I don't want him to have the satisfaction of having our photos. It's clear he uses our memories in a horrible way. Is there anything I'm missing? I can't seem to think of anything, and all my thoughts seem so jumbled. Nothing makes sense, but I know I can't stay. Any help to ghost a person this close to my heart would be appreciated. Top comment, commenter. Take pictures or video of the apartment before you leave so he can't damage it and claim that you did it. Update post. Thank you everyone for all the solid advice. I'm compiling everything I did in this first section, so if others need a way to cut contact with a person, they can reference this. As mentioned in the comments, I logged myself out of our Apple TV and Xbox. I canceled the Wi-Fi that I paid for and returned the modem to the carrier. I took my payment information for utilities off our account. I packed up all my sauces, spices, and cooking oils, and took note to only leave dried rosemary behind. He hates that shit. I printed out and framed the screenshot of his Tinder profile and left it on the kitchen table. I closed a piece of dog poop into the frame as well. I'll keep the photo albums. He can have this. I took a video of the entire apartment after packing up all my things. I left my keys in the mailbox to the leasing office and emailed the leasing office of my departure with the videos of what the apartment looked like prior to locking up. I updated my address for the USPS, vet, hospital, school, work, and my dog's chip. I talked to HR and am in the process of getting him off of my health insurance. changing the benefactor of my life insurance to my parents if only I could name my dog, and emergency contact, I'm going to the bank to take myself off the joint bank account. Fortunately, I'm not worried about my credit as all of our finances have stayed separate, but I'm grateful to those who told me to freeze my credit. I logged out of all devices for all streaming services, social media, and my work, personal, and school email. I blocked him on all social media, chat rooms, and his phone number. I made a doctor's appointment to get STD tested. I'm on my way to an appointment with the county office to terminate our domestic partnership. It's been an incredibly busy 18 hours, but I've had a lot of help from my friends. I haven't been able to sleep either. As far as what happened since he arrived, here's what's up. I already blocked him before he landed. I received many texts and calls from his parents and sister that I did not see. Then, when I noticed his sister calling, I picked up. At first, the call was hostile. She accused me of being some crazy ex-girlfriend that couldn't let her brother go. Funny, since I just packed up and left. She brought up that it had been 4 months, and that I needed to move on. I told her that the ex never approached me about breaking up, and that 1 month ago, we celebrated our 7th anniversary and started to plan our wedding. I had no indication he even wanted to break up. We reset a bit and she allowed me to tell her my side of the story. I told her he was somewhat distant this year, but he had blamed it on their grandparents being old and wanting to spend more time with them before they die. Turns out their grandparents have been dead for 2 years. I never met them because my ex claimed they were super racist since the grandpa was a Vietnam War vet. I'm SE Asian. Turns out you can't be racist when you're dead. We ended the call on a positive note, with his sister saying that it was a lot to take in. She said she felt bad as the girl he was cheating on me with was one of her friends. She had introduced them to each other sometime last year when my ex was apparently unhappy with our relationship. They hit it off and he was supposed to break it off with me. I guess he never had the balls to do so. She was also confused as to why he was on Tinder as he was in a relationship with her friend. I sent her all the Tinder receipts after hanging up. Later in the night, I received an email from the ex. To sum it up, yes, he asked me to come to the apartment to talk it out. No, he did not apologize for anything. He ended the email with, "I love you." As far as I know, he doesn't know where I am. I also don't believe he knows where my friend lives, as she just moved and he hasn't been here yet. He also doesn't seem like that type of person. But I guess I didn't really know him after all. We'll keep locks ready and bats near the door. It's been so helpful just writing out everything that's happened so far. But all of your advice, support, and guidance in this situation has made me feel empowered me to leave. At times, I just wanted to stop packing and hope that when he came home, everything would go back to normal, and the text would just be a distant memory. Your words of encouragement have really helped me follow through and leave. Nothing good would have come from staying. Thank you all again. Edit. Just added a link in the beginning to the original post-edit too. Sorry, I was unclear about the timeline. The parents and sister called me about 2 hours after he landed. I assume it was because he got home, realized the person paying half his rent will no longer be doing so, and reached out to his family. The dog poop may have contributed to the heightened emotions. Sum of comments. Commenter 1, I took all the spices when I left, not because I could readily use them, but because fuck that guy. Didn't even leave salt and pepper reply. I think I took like $300 of spices. Oils, sauces, and just everyday cooking stuff. Thank you for this. Commenter 2. But whatever he really hates, leave that behind. If he's ever expressed a dislike of celery salt or Worcester sauce, that needs to be the only thing left in the cupboard. Because fuck that guy. Reply. The dried rosemary was left behind. It's his least favorite flavor, subtle and incredible. Thank you, haha. Commenter 3. Logging out doesn't change your passwords. If he happens to know them, he can just log back in or go change them himself. Reply. Good point. The passwords will be changed ASAP to a comment calling everything fake. If you don't believe that I did what I said I did, that's on you. A lot of it was sending emails and doing stuff online besides physically moving everything, which I did with the help of 3 friends and putting poop in a picture frame. As for not knowing his grandparents, it's not super relevant to the post why we're not close, but it was because the first 5 years of our relationship, they were no contact. The last 2 years is when they've reconciled, probably when his grandparents actually died. Why haven't I gotten to know them better since then? Two reasons: distance and racism. Though we're both from the same Midwest hometown, his family still lives there. Mine moved away to SoCal where we live now. To get there, it's 7 hours at the airport with the layover plus 2-hour drive to get to their house. If I liked them, the travel time wouldn't be the problem. But his family is racist. I'm SE Asian and they're old white folks. Since I've met them, they repeatedly mispronounce my name, call me slurs as a joke, and sometimes pretend I don't speak English. The last time we had dinner was over a year ago, and the main joke of the night was how I was a CCP agent honeypotting their son. I wasn't laughing. We have each other's phone numbers for emergencies, but I'm not chomping at the bit to be reaching out to chat just because. I wasn't going to mend any bridges or whatever, because I'm not going to change how I look or where my parents are from anytime soon. As for why the sister called, Mr. Cheater Pants was mad the woman he cheated on would no longer be paying half the rent, and I guess his sister took it personally. I don't really care. UP clarifies the timeline again. We were together for 7 years. The first year and a half we were good friends that liked each other but didn't act on it. We're bad at communicating feelings. As far as I know, we weren't seeing other people either, but who knows? We began to include it in our overall time together, because it seemed right at the time. It's stupid to think of now. Sorry it made you doubt whether this was real, and I already addressed your comment about his grandparents here. And yeah, I was able to do it all in less than a day. I got 3 of my friends to move stuff out of a 500 SQFT apartment, so it's not like I had much to move. And not that I have everything completely finished. I'm still waiting to hear back on HR stuff and bank stuff. But do you guys really think sending out emails and changing passwords and making appointments is that hard? Because that's like 8 of the 13 things were done online in the middle of the night. And the poop prank took maybe 10 minutes, and I slept maybe an hour on the drive home from the county office. So yeah, I had a lot of time. I don't care. And if you think it's still fake because I keep replying to people, I'm just answering. These questions cause I'm trying to distract myself from falling into an emotional pit of despair. To a longer comment. Thanks for saying this. Now that things are starting to settle down, I can feel a lot of sadness start creep in. Maybe it's for him, but I know it's partially for the future I had seen for myself for so long. Now, I feel like I don't know what direction forward is, and I feel a bit lost. Someone had suggested counseling therapy. And before this adrenaline fully leaves, I'll try to schedule that because I'm sure it'll help. I suppose the good thing about not having to plan for a wedding anymore is that I have more money for Lady Gaga tickets, haha. Thank you so much for the kind words and warning of what's to come. I appreciate it. Stories number 3. Aita for giving my dad a list for his 50th birthday of all the times he made me miss my activities so his wife's kids wouldn't miss theirs. Under 18 ages 13 to 17, my dad turned 50 last week. His wife was on my M17 case to write a nice card and pick out a present for him. So I gave him the list I wrote to keep track of all the times he made me miss extracurricular activities so her kids wouldn't miss theirs. That was my present for him. I didn't even get a card or write in one. That was my gift to him. I knew it was going to piss him and his wife off, but I kept track of that stuff, and it has always bothered me because he became such a lazy dad to me when he started dating his wife. They asked me what the hell kind of milestone present that is, and I told them it was the gift of having his eyes open to the way he prioritized her kids over me. She told me it was so incredibly arrogant to keep a list like that and obsess over the times he did something to show her kids he cared. I told her he could have figured out a way to do nice things for both of us. But as soon as they met, he cared more about her and proving himself to her than he did about being a good dad. BG is as follows. My mom isn't around, don't know why. My dad never gave me an answer about what happened to her. I only remember him though, and he met his wife when I was 7. They dated for years without living together, but started all the way back then. He would get me kicked out of activities for no showing because he said he'd take his wife's kids to theirs, and for some reason he couldn't get all 3 of us to our activities. Dad had me in football from 5 to 7. I got kicked off the team after 6 no-shows without explanation. Each of those times was because he dropped her kids off at theirs and he said he didn't have time to drop me off at mine. Then he had me in karate. I went for a month and then he didn't take me for 2 months. They told him I couldn't go back if I wasn't going to be there every week because there was no way for me to learn. He signed me up for another football team and the same thing happened. He didn't take me to one of the games and several practices, so I got kicked. I asked for art classes and he said, sure, that'll keep you busy and out of my hair. I lasted 4 months in those classes before several no-shows meant they told Dad I couldn't come back because I was missing important lessons. He signed me up for basketball. Same thing happened. I only went once though. Swimming was the same, and the last time I did get to go, he didn't pick me up on time. I got into dance classes when I was 14 and thought this can work. I'll walk, but then he'd pick me up and say he'd drop me, but then he wouldn't. And I didn't get to connect with anyone to get a ride off their parents because I wasn't in dance long enough. Instead of being at something for me, I had to sit in the car or watch his wife's kids do their stuff. The kid he dropped off last is the one he stayed to watch or parked outside the activity of. And they had loads of activities. My dad and his wife only moved in together when I was 14, so he was doing all this for kids he didn't live with and fucking me over in the process. Then he refused to pay for anything because he decided to take over paying for his wife's kids. I hold it against him. And yeah, I tried to talk to him in a calm and mature way, but he brushed me off. So I resented him more for it. I told his wife when she bitched at me for my attitude, and she was like, "So what?" That told me all I needed to know, but the birthday thing? I gave him the list and they made a big deal out of it. But instead of giving me the cold shoulder, they decided to bring it up multiple times since, and they've bitched so much that I'm tired of hearing it. I told them I didn't care about my dad's birthday or his feelings because he won't confront that he didn't deserve shit from me. Commenter 1, NTA. I'm sorry, Op, this sounds heartbreaking. Your father is incredibly selfish. If you haven't already started, please start saving money to move out once you turn 18. I don't think your father will support you financially looking at his streak. Reply, I started saving when I turned 16. I wanted to be able to get the fuck out at 18 and knew I needed money to stand a chance. Commenter 2, NTA. Assholes hate having their shitty behavior called out. Was this done in front of others, or were just your dad and step there? Reply, in front of a few others, his wife's kids, a couple of her relatives, and like one of his friends. Commenter 3, NTA. Hats off to you. What an enviable level of pettiness. He and his wife deserve that. Reply. I was never really sure if I'd give it to him. I wrote the list for me, but it was the only present I felt he deserved. Commenter 4, NTA. And send it as a Christmas card to everyone in your family. Reply, unfortunately I don't have a family outside of him. I know he has a brother, but I never met the guy. Stories number 4, Aita for not letting a kid eat my food. The other day I was at the mall with my boyfriend and our 2 kids, F5 and M6. We were sitting eating a bag of roasted chestnuts when this kid around 10 starts hovering around us. Now, I admit I'm not the biggest fan of any kid that doesn't belong to me, so this alone was already annoying me slightly, but I still smilled to him. Then he calls my son over and whispers in his ear, and I knew it was about the chestnuts. My son nods yes, and the boy comes up to me and reaches for a chestnut. I moved bag and said, "No, you have to go ask your parents." My boyfriend got upset, called me rude, and handed a chestnut to the boy. The boy leaves, and I tell my boyfriend he shouldn't have done that you don't just give food to a strange kid. The boy then hovers back around us, and without a word snatches 2 chestnuts from the bag that my boyfriend was now holding. I stand up and said very firmly, "Sorry, but you can't take our stuff like that. Go to your parents." He put them back and ran off. I think the kid had no education manners, and I wasn't gonna let my kids think it's okay to accept anything from strangers, or that it's okay to be pressured into sharing. My boyfriend doesn't agree and thinks the kid trusted us because we had kids ourselves. He thinks I was just selfish. Commenter 1, Enta. Your boyfriend could have killed the kid. How does your boyfriend know the kid is not allergic to nuts? Absolutely never give food to kids without talking to the parents first. Commenter 2, NTA, especially since it was nuts. Reckless of your boyfriend. Reply, I told him that. He said he didn't think about that, but that I was still too harsh to tell him to go away. Commenter 3, I'm allergic to chestnuts. Luckily, I know that. I found the hard way, but was fortunate that I was close to medical professionals at the time who saved my life. Your boyfriend was reckless and could have killed him. Commenter 4, NTA. You have no idea if this kid might be allergic, or if his parents want him having this food. It is also dangerous that this boy thinks it is okay to take things from strangers. I would have handled it by asking him to take to his parents and then maybe giving him one with their approval as a lesson to everyone. But you certainly were not in the wrong for simply saying no. Stories number 5. Aita for telling my parents that either I move out or they do something about my brother. I 25 live with my parents in a very expensive city. We stay in a 3-bedroom high-rise. My mom recently decided she wanted to move to this city because she was tired of living in the country. I agreed to move with them because this city had many software engineering jobs. I was able to get a high-paying job and make 6 figures. My mom and dad are school teachers, and their combined income is just under what I make. My brother James and his wife Mary had originally stayed in our old state, but once she found out she was pregnant, my mom and dad invited them to move in our house. I work from home sometimes and pay 75% if the bills and mortgage, so the spare bedroom was my office. My brother and his wife showed up at my house, which I didn't know about, and demanded my room. My room has a walk-in closet and bathroom. I told them to take the office because it has an air mattress for guests. My parents told me to let them have my room. I reminded them how I pay most of the bills and I'll move out if they have my room. My mom yelled at me and told me I was a jerk, but my dad just told them to go to the spare room. I went into the office the next day but forgot my laptop, so during lunch I came home and found my Sil taking my stuff out of my room. Everyone else had left for work. I yelled at her and asked what hell was she doing. She screamed back that my mom said to do this. I grabbed all her stuff that she moved, which wasn't a lot, and threw it on the floor, and told her I will kick her, and my brother out of her stuff is in my room when I get back from work. My brother and mom blew up my phone when I was at work. My dad started a group chat and said that there will be a family meeting when everyone gets home. I stopped at the store to grab knob with a lock for my door. My parents' Sil and brother was sitting on the couch when I got home. My brother tried to get in my face, but I'm taller and bigger than he is, so I just put my hand on his face, shoved him out of my way. I knew this infuriated him because he's older than me. My dad told me that I should just let them have the room. My Sil smiled at me. I told them that I pay most of the bills and they are living under my room because my name is on the mortgage, and if they want the bigger room they could either pay me rent or the 4 of them can move out. My dad tried to bargain with me, but I told him that I'm not talking about this anymore, and if I hear about it again, I will have everyone evicted. My Sil started crying, and I went to my room. My dad is treating me okay, but everyone else is giving me the silent treatment. I thought everything was okay, but the next night I came home from dinner, my mom made everyone but me a plate. She said until I give up my room and be a good son, she would not cook me dinner. My dad agreed with her. I pay for every grocery. I went into my room and printed eviction notices for my mom and dad. My brother and Sil hadn't been there long enough to be considered squatters. I told my brother and Sil they had an hour to pack and get out or I'll call the police. I told my parents they have 30 days or I'll take legal action. All our extended family stay in a different state, and they don't have the money to support 4 people in this city. My mom begged and tried giving me her plate, but I said it wasn't about the food. My parents put my brother and Sil in a hotel room for the night, and my mom tried to apologize, but I ignored her and went to my room. I'm writing this right now to see what I should do because I'm honestly confused, Aita. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NETA. I'm guessing the parents and brother thought they had autonomy over you because you're the youngest. Your actions have proven they don't. Your mother, though, wow. It's good that you didn't hesitate to put her and your brother in their place. Otherwise, this could have dragged onto them railroading you. Perhaps they'll get a place together. The obvious solution since both couples are now and will be homeless. Not your problem since everyone is an adult. Adult enough to make these decisions, and adult enough to reap the consequences. Commenter 2, I was thinking this was a classic. Tell me your sibling is the golden child without saying they are the golden child. I mean, he could have played this passive-aggressive like mom. But I am glad he didn't. Though I suggest he buy no good for the house for the rest of the time they stay there. In fact, start interviewing people to rent their room. In fact, if you have friends that our parents don't know, do a mock house showings and let them know how much the room is renting for. Commenter 3, NTA. Your mom just decided to ask your brother and Sil to move into the home that you pay for and then decided to play games. Well, the 4 of them can just move back since they can't afford this city on their own. That was the stupidest attempt at a power play I've ever seen. It is time for you to enjoy your place on your own, Commenter 4. Mom played the, if I don't get my way I won't cook for you card. Then quickly found out that if OP has to cook anyway, she doesn't need to be under his roof at all. She tried to withhold the one thing of value she brings to OP having to share his home with 4 people. And they wanted to stick him in the office. Commenter 5. The best thing is she was cooking everyone else meals with the food he'd paid for. The audacity of that blows my mind. Commenter 6 NTA. Your family is pretty comfortable due to you? I'm not sure why they're doing this, but you don't owe them anything. No one even asked your opinion. F's Commenter 7, my guess, because Sael is pregnant, making the parents first-time grandparents. Too bad for them, they all have selective amnesia. Forgetting the OP pays for everything and isn't a doormat. Commenter 8. Oh, you're totally NTA. Your parents are trying to maintain influence over you, but you're the breadwinner here. They can't control you like they did when you were a child. Throw them out if you have to. Update 1. I went to work, and my parents had left out before me, which was unusual. But my mom had texted me throughout the day with apologies. I seen posts that said my mom might be narcissistic, but this is the first time she's acted like this. So I was honestly hurt when it happened. But when I came home from work, my brother, Sil, and parents were sitting on the couch. My dad said they're sorry for the way they acted and thought because I'm usually the voice of reason that I was going to back down. My brother said the request seemed small, and because I have a perfect life, giving up one thing to accommodate him and his time of need is what family does. Side note, my brother has no debt. My father is a veteran, so we were able to get free education somehow. But because my brother changed his major 5 times, he had to pay for 3 years of extra coursework that wasn't covered. My parents took on that burden and are still in debt because of it. They also didn't sell or rent out the old house because my brother convinced them that he would start a family there someday. So they have some debt because of it. But my brother is not in need of everything. My brother also told me that because it's our parents' condo, they should have a final say. I explained to him that it's my condo and my name is on the mortgage, so they actually get no say in what goes around here. He was confused. He said I possibly couldn't afford this place on my salary. He said a person making $50,000 a year could not live this lifestyle. I explained to him that I make 3 times that much and our parents can't afford to live here without me because of the mortgage back home and his student debt. James said that Dad took care of the student loans and that the old house was already paid off. I looked at my parents, wondering why they lied to him. I explained that they were in a ton of debt because of him and refused to sell the house because of what he said. James asked our parents why they didn't tell him all of this. My mom bursted out into tears, telling James they knew he was jealous of me since I was in high school. Mom knew that me playing varsity football my freshman year of high school when he rode the bench as a senior is what started his dislike. And me playing college level at a Big Ten school didn't help. We also graduated the same year, so James told Mom that it wasn't fair that got to do all those things. Mom and Dad began babying him in order to compensate for this, so he wouldn't hate me, and the family could continue to be around each other without animosity. James just walked out the door without speaking another word. My Sil apologized and said she didn't know it was my house. I asked her why would that change anything. She ignored my question and went to the guest room. My dad tried to explain that they felt like they failed my brother. I asked, was it just because of the football thing? He said it was because James wasn't given the same opportunities as me. I explained how James skipped school to drink and smoke and joined a gang. I asked, do you think we should have gotten the same opportunities? My dad said it was hard to explain. I told him what's easy to explain is the eviction notice, and he has 30 days. So I left to my friend's house, and that's where I'm at now. Update 2, my brother invited me out to have some drinks. I was hesitant to go at first, but I realized that it wouldn't hurt. When I seen him, he looked horrible and I hated seeing him like that. The first thing he told me was sorry, and it seemed genuine. He then told me he was never jealous of me, and was proud of all my accomplishments. He then dropped a huge bomb during his senior year of high school. He had come home early and found Mom was home and so was our uncle's car. At the front door, he heard moans and decided to peek through the window and seen our mom and uncle on the couch, cheating on both of their spouses. He took a video as evidence ready to show Dad. But he didn't want to break up our family. Instead of talking to anyone and getting help, he got into drugs to help him cope. But he explained that one day Mom yelled at him while he was drunk in the middle of the day, so he just showed her the video. He explained how her face got pale and she broke down crying. She promised she had broken it off when our aunt had gotten pregnant a few months after the incident had occurred. She pleaded with him not to tell Dad. He said he wasn't, but that she better do everything to make it up to Dad. Mom started the jealous thing to hide her affair even though she knew she was the reason for the drugs and alcohol. He hadn't realized that she's been overcompensating, afraid that he was going to tell Dad, after therapy and rehab. He had been concentrating on himself, and failed to see how I was being treated. He also thought it was unfair that I didn't have to live with that heavy burden, and thought Mom always babied me. So when I wouldn't give up the room, he thought it was Mom playing favorites. He almost broke down crying, saying how sorry he was, and that he'll leave. I told him that wasn't necessary, and that as long as him and Sil help out, he's welcome to stay as long as wants. I asked was he ever going to tell Dad. He said he wasn't, but would hold no resentment towards me if I did tell. So now I'm conflicted with that. But other than that, everything seems normal. Final update, I told my dad. He surprisingly took it well. I did it in private. He admitted that his brother told him that one time when he was drunk, but he thought he was trying to upset him. I know everybody was saying that my mom was a narcissist, but she never displayed these behaviors. She was a woman loved by everyone. He never suspected a thing. He was hurt, though. He explained that he's been married for 30 years and would like for things to stay the same. I always thought Dad was kind of a pushover, so I highly doubt that he's going to confront her. I think he's comfortable with life the way it is. But my brother and Sil have paid me for bills and rent, so we're okay. My mom has apologized and it seems genuine. She became the outgoing nice woman again, so my house has peace. I think this is going to be how it is from now on. I hope Dad is okay though. Stories number 6. Aita for refusing to adopt my sister's daughter because she doesn't want any legal documents. I 29F married. My sister 33F recently gave birth, and she's now a single mom after breaking up with her ex due to her bad attitude. She came to me asking if I could raise her baby, because she doesn't have enough income, and has already cut ties with the father of the child. My husband loves kids, and we were both happy and willing to adopt my niece since she's family. However, when we talked about the arrangements, my husband said that the adoption needs to be done legally with complete papers, so that in case anything happens, my sister would no longer have parental decision-making power over the child. We still want her to be able to visit anytime, since she's the biological mother, but not to the point where she can suddenly take the child back whenever she wants. I agreed with my husband, but my sister refused the legal process, claiming it was unnecessary and inconvenient, and that there was no need for it since I'm her sister anyway. I told her politely that we can only adopt the child if she agrees to the legal terms. She got upset and said I'm treating her like a stranger, not a sister. Comments. Commenter 1. Of course it needs to be done legally. It sounds like she's possibly got it in mind that she could retrieve her daughter at some later date when she's more financially stable. Letting you pay for and raise her daughter in the meantime. NTAH. Reply. I appreciate this. I just want to make sure the child is protected and that everything is clear for everyone involved. This isn't about treating her like a stranger, it's about being responsible. Commenter 2. NTA. She wants to retain the option to change her mind in the future, likely when the kid is out of diapers. That's why she's balking at it. I'd also guess that she hasn't discussed this with the father, and he could also come back into the picture and take her baby from you. Save yourself the heartbreak, and don't take her unless you get it done legally. Reply. Thanks, that makes a lot of sense. I really don't want to risk future complications, especially involving the father. Legal adoption is the only way I'd feel secure. Commenter 3. Your husband is right, and I think your sister is being very entitled, and that in itself is a red flag for sure. You want to protect the child and give her stability, and your sister's attitude tells me she couldn't care less. Commenter 4. NTA for wanting to give a child a more stable life. You're 100% correct to have it all legal also. Sounds like she wants a permanent babysitter till the daughter is old enough for her to collect at a later date. This is a human, not a car. Reply. Nah, that's not gonna happen. If she wants me to babysit, she would be paying me. No excuses. Stories number 7. Seat people with their fucking dates. Okay, I need to rant about this because this wedding is still going on, and I need to keep it together and not show how much I hated it. But I really, really hated it. We are from Canada. Last year, a Canadian couple, a close friend of my partner's, and his now wife invited us to a destination wedding in California. About 4 hours outside LA now is the general etiquette about destination weddings. Not that you pick somewhere relatively inexpensive, since you're asking everyone to take time off of work. California is not cheap. This is a flight across the continent, plus a rental car for several days, plus a hotel, all in a currency that's got a pretty rough exchange rate for literally every single guest. Nobody lives in California. Literally all of the guests are Canadians. Also, this is quite possibly the worst time to ask a bunch of Canadians to go to the US and spend a bunch of money. Trump's tariffs are wreaking havoc on our economy. The 51st state remarks have been extremely offensive. Like, we're big mad about it? Whatever you think of his policies versus Avis Canada. The majority of Canadians are extremely angry about them, but we figured the location had some special meaning we didn't know about, and that they likely set down dates and paid deposits before the 24 election. So bad timing. But not their fault. The groom is a good friend and a great guy, so we decide to go. It started off pretty great. The wedding is at the hotel. It's beautiful. The location is beautiful. The ceremony is lovely and the vows are sweet and heartfelt and we're all shedding tears. But then things get weird. During cocktails, I check the seating chart, and approximately half of the invited couples are not seated together, including us. There's no wedding party, so there's no head table, and this isn't a dates of the wedding party not seated at the head table situation. Half the couples are seated together, and half are not. I am pretty annoyed about this. It's weird and rude and just, why? I'm seated in between two women, one of whom I know vaguely, and one of whom I'd never met. And they are both just as perplexed about why they're not seated next to their dates. Now it's time for dinner speeches. There is an open bar and wine glasses at the table, but no wine at the tables. People are confused, and the MCs clarify that you're meant to go up to the bar to get drinks. Okay, sure, also weird, but whatever. But now speeches have started, and holy fucking shit. Every single speech was, I kid you not, 10 minutes long, and there are 7 speeches. The bride's father couldn't read what he'd written because it was on his phone, and he didn't have his glasses. But he just kept going, and he was completely incoherent. Like nobody could tell at all what he was saying. The groom's brother's speech was easily 15 minutes long. People don't want to get up and go to the bar while people are speaking. So we're sitting there, separated from our dates, sober, listening to seemingly everyone these two people have ever met in their lives ramble on about them. It was more than an hour of speeches. By the end of dinner, I was in a terrible mood. Dancing starts, and the bride's sister is going around cajoling people to dance, saying the bride wants everyone on the dance floor, and we all have to get up and dance. This happens repeatedly, because again, everyone is basically sober and bored to tears by all the rambling speeches. I stayed until the end of the night because it would be rude to leave early. But it was a struggle. I didn't feel like drinking or dancing and basically wanted to leave immediately after dinner. My partner thinks I'm being a bitch, but holy shit, this was the worst wedding I've ever been to. And not worst in a fun, crazy, went off the rails way some weddings are. Just boring and expensive and thoughtless. Bleh, seat people with their dates, have wine at the table, and for the love of God tell people speaking they have a time limit. Commenter 1, did the couple realize this mishap? I went to a wedding where the seating chart was completely messed up. It ended up being a mistake and we all just picked our own seats at appropriate tables. Reply, I don't think it was a mishap. There were only 3 tables, 40 people. Commenter 2, honestly, I am against sitting the wedding party separately from their dates, let alone regular guests. I have literally never heard of a wedding seating chart that split regular guests apart from their dates. Like, both the bride and groom took a look at that seating chart, perhaps even with a planner reviewing it, and agreed that it was fine. WTF? Commenter 3. I think it's obnoxious when the wedding couple doesn't sit partners together and try to micromanage how and who their guests are supposed to interact with. Commenter 4. Is the general etiquette about destination weddings, not that you pick somewhere relatively inexpensive. Since you're asking everyone to fly take time off of work? No. Most people I know who made a destination wedding made it with goal of making difficult for people to attend. It is usually a way of making a small wedding without having to actively cut people from the list. Also, it is an invitation. If it is hard financially to go, it is okay not attended. Choosing to fly out of the country and spend tons of money just to complain about it. It was better not going on the first place. That said, all the other things you are right about. Very tacky not to seat people who know each other and are a couple together for no reason at all. After all the effort the guests were making, they could have been for thoughtful on their guest's experience. Stories number 8. Tifu by giving myself acid reflux for 25 years. I am 34 years old and have had excruciating acid reflux since I was about 8 years old. I have been taking prescription strength medication every day for 25 years to control it, and still have had terrible symptoms that sometimes keep me up at night. I've even had an endoscopy under general anesthesia to try to discover the cause. Recently I noticed that my symptoms tend to start after I take my evening allergy and asthma medication. Incidentally, I have been taking these pills since I was about 8 years old. I've always been able to easily dry swallow pills without water. I can take a whole handful of pills dry with no problem. So that's how I've always taken my medication. So I Googled it. And sure enough, dry swallowing pills can lead to pills getting stuck in your esophagus and cause acid reflux. I started taking water with my pills. And sure enough, my acid reflux symptoms disappeared immediately. It's been a few months now, and I haven't had a single episode of reflux when I used to have it several times a week. TLDR, I gave myself acid reflux nearly every day for 25 years by dry swallowing pills. Commenter 1, sending this now to my teen that always dry swallows pills, because I don't need water to take them. Mom and suffers from reflux. Thank you. Reply. I'm glad me figuring out how dumb I was being can save someone else who is being dumb. Commenter 2, oh my gosh. What gave you the idea to dry swallow pills in the first place at all? That just sounds so uncomfortable in itself, ahaha, but I'm glad you figured it out. Sorry it took so long. I feel like that's sort of on your parents too for not giving you water with them. Reply. I think it was a combo of laziness, of not wanting to have to get a glass of water, and pride in my ability to not need it. Commenter 3, not that it's much comfort to you, but thank you so much for posting this. As a fellow idiot who has been dry swallowing pills for the last decade also, I now have an answer for why I have acid reflux after I do that, so you are not alone. I shall now take pills with water and stop pretending that I'm cool by swallowing them dry. Reply. Hey, this was a PSA as much as anything. No one ever told me, commenter 453, always dry swallow my pills, including the pantoprazole I take for my acid reflux. You'd think after 2 endoscopies that someone would have asked me if I did this. But Till from Reddit, reply. Yup. I was dry swallowing that pantoprazole along with everything else. I'm glad my PSA is reaching people who needed to hear it. Stories number 9. My 18F boyfriend and his friends, 18-19 meters, played a viciously cruel prank on an older couple who has lost their cat. Obviously, I'm breaking up with him, but what else can I do to make this right? I have been with my boyfriend for about a year. We are both honors students who are graduating in about a month. He's a good guy, and we were going to try to make it work, even though we are going to different out-of-state schools. However, he has a group of friends, and when he's with them, he does very stupid things. He was out with them last night, and he called me and told me he was at Purple Heart Park if I wanted to come see them. I live about a block away in Rita, so I told my parents, and they were fine with me going. When I got there, they were like rolling on the ground. They were laughing so hard. I asked them what was so funny, and they wouldn't say. Then one pointed to an older couple who was walking around with a flashlight, calling the obvious name of a pet. I could not figure out what was so funny about that. But as the couple came closer to us, they said we needed to leave. When we got in my boyfriend's car, they absolutely lost it with laughter. I asked them what happened, and maybe 30 minutes prior, one of them had spotted a missing cat poster and called the number and lies, and told the owner that they had spotted the cat in Purple Heart Park. I instantly knew the poster since one was on our mailbox, and they had been there for maybe 6 weeks. In Tucson, we know when a cat is gone that long. A coyote had gotten it. I wanted to throw up. This was so cruel to do to those poor people, to give them hope like that. I demanded to be taken home that second, and he did. I didn't say a word to any of them, and I hate that I even know this happened. I'm going to break up with him, but what can or should I do to make this up to the poor couple who was missing the cat? I'm devastated with guilt that I know something about it, but don't know what I should do. I can't ask my parents because I'm afraid my dad will actually beat the crap out of them and risk losing his job. He's such an animal lover. Top comments, commenter 1, to back you up. I can truthfully say there is no way I could continue seeing someone who not only did something like this, but laughed and laughed about it afterwards. Disgusting. No wonder you are so upset. I feel for you and wish you and the cat owners all the best. Commenter 2, what a cruel thing to do. To be clear, you don't need to do anything to make this right, as you were in no way involved. I don't think it was technically illegal, but very scummy. You could communicate with the couple on an anonymous phone call or letter only if you want to, and tell them what happened. Or you could tell your social group why you dumped him and let it spread, though that could cause trouble for you in the long run, whatever you do or don't do. I'm glad you aren't staying with someone like that. Best of luck. Update. So basically, breaking up with my boyfriend was an easy decision, and I did it over text. He said that like after a year he deserved better than a text breakup. I said after what I saw him do on Saturday night, he really didn't. He tried to say that the prank was not his idea, and I really needed to cut him some slack. I said that maybe it wasn't his idea, but I saw him laughing just as hard as his friends, and that was enough for me. He's been a total shit at school, but it's turning on him bad. When I explained to people why we broke up, and who he was with a guy who graduated last year, who is such a creep. What was harder is what I should do with the people. I had 2 choices as I saw it. Either not call and let them have false hope the cat was still alive, or call and let them know they had been pranked. Basically, after thinking about it all day, I decided that if it were my dogs in question, I'd want all the info I could get. I was so nervous calling them, but the lady answered, and I think I said I had some information about their lost cat. She basically stopped me and said that it was a miracle, but their cat had been turned into Pima, country animal control 2 days prior, and they had finally gotten a return on the chip, and they called them that very morning and they had just gotten the cat home. I was so relieved because I didn't have to tell them some awful news about how my boyfriend was a piece of shit. I was also happy for her because she seemed so happy. I told her I was very happy her cat was home and said goodbye. So that's like really good news, and I'm happy to be rid of my idiot boyfriend. Stories number 10. Boyfriend 29M keeps accidentally hurting me. 28F, and I'm scared it will happen again. A few days ago, my 28F boyfriend 29M shook my head quite suddenly to give me a forehead kiss, and I ended up with a mild concussion, dizzy, nauseated, headache, etc. I think it was completely accidental, but this is not the first time something like this has happened in our almost 4-year relationship. A hug that cracked my rib. A playful bump that made my nose ache for months. Random moments of affection that somehow leave me bruised or recovering for days. He is never angry or aggressive. He just gets intense with physical closeness and seems to forget that my body is more fragile, especially since I found out about my osteoporosis. What scares me is that he is not clumsy with anyone else, only me. I have talked to him before and he listened eventually, and things did improve for a while. Yet every so often there is another injury. We do not live together, and that gives me some breathing room. Although it also means nothing ever really gets solved, I am starting to tense up every time he reaches for me. I have not even told him yet about the concussion symptoms because I feel too overwhelmed. I'm a childhood abuse survivor, which probably adds another layer to all this. I love him. I believe he never means to hurt me still. I am anxious and tired of being the one in pain. How do I bring this up again in a way he will truly understand? At what point does he didn't mean to stop being enough? Any outside perspective would really help. TLDR. My boyfriend keeps accidentally injuring me during affectionate moments, and now I am scared of his touch, even though I know he never means to hurt me. Comments. Commenter 1. Is your boyfriend Lenny from Of Mice and Men? The force required to crack your ribs and to cause concussions is not minimal or something I could ever imagine as accidental. Commenter 2. I'm sorry, but no one repeatedly accidentally harms just the one person over and over again. If this really was accidental on his part, then he'd do it to other people. His friends would joke about how no one should ever accept a hug from him, etc. He would have had multiple people talking to him about this issue and asked him to work on it. But that hasn't happened. The only person he ever hurts is you, a woman with a disability. From the outside, it reads like a covert form of abuse and control. You're scared of him, yet don't feel you can leave or want to leave because he's convinced you that he just can't help repeatedly harming you. He's choosing to hurt you and getting off on seeing your pain and getting away with it beyond this bullshit. I can't control my own strength excuse. I once went out with a man who was 6'87" and saw him wrench a deadlocked metal door open without even putting much effort in, to save a dog from a fire. And despite his incredible strength and size, he never once hurt me. If he really cared about hurting you, he'd do everything in his power to make sure it never happens again. And he's not doing that, is he? Which means he's choosing to harm you. Commenter 3. Why would you think it's accidental if he never does it with anyone else? And if it keeps happening? Why would he be rough with you, knowing about your frailty? Commenter 4. Yeah, no. These aren't accidents. Hugging someone until a rib cracks doesn't happen accident, and what even if a playful bump on the nose? This is physical abuse masqueraded as affection. The fact that you need breathing room from him and internally flinch when he reaches for you is your body and intuition telling you that you don't want this. Listen to it. Stories number 11. My 22M girlfriend, 26F of 5 years, killed my pet snake 14 years soon we moved in together. So I'm pretty much convinced my girlfriend killed my snake that I had since I was kid. She always had a problem with the snake. She would believe it's satanic and bad omen to have a snake in the house. But to me the snake was like family. And is very docile. He has no problems with her dogs. He just be chilling. Even her dog would just chill, not attack my snake. When we were moving, she kept telling me to get rid of the snake. But I couldn't cause I really love my snake. Well, now I came home and the snake was just gone. No traces of anything, just gone and not to be seen in the house. When I confronted my girlfriend about it, she claims she doesn't know anything and claims that it probably escaped. I find this hard to believe because first off, he actually can't escape his enclosure, and I doubt the snake went down a flight of stairs and left through the door. I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but I think it's mad fucked up she did this. I want to confront her about it, but I don't want to seem like I'm being petty. Edit. When I brought up the snake missing, she just started crying and saying, I always do this. Edek what she even means by this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's not petty. It's disturbing the fact that she more than likely has had something to do with this. Reply. Man, I think it's mad fucked up that I can't keep my snake, but she can keep her dog, even though both the animals can coexist. Commenter 2. It's not petty to confront a situation like this. She might not have killed it, just released it into the wild. Which doesn't make it any less fucked up. Reply. Yeah, I mean a ball python won't survive a Toronto springtime. Commenter 3. I'm actually disturbed by this. That's unbelievable and unforgivable and a hugged red flag. Don't even humor her, just be straight. Reply. I tried TPB straight and she flipped it on my somehow but I still want to know why. Like I literally got him as a child and wanted the snake to be around when I have kids. The ball python would have lived to around 35-40. Commenter 4. If this just happened, look in the trash. Doubtful she would take it in her car to dispose of it. Sad. Reply. Nothing in the trash. Pretty sure she released her, which is the same as killing her. Pretty much. Commenter 5. You think she may have murdered your pet, but you don't want to make a big thing out of it? If she murdered your pet, she has some serious mental health issues, which are both genetic as well as environmental. Call the police. Reply. I doubt the police will care as much. Unless it was a dog or some. Commenter 6. First off, she might not have killed your snake. She likely released it outside. IDK what the weather is like in your area. But if there's a chance it could survive the conditions, go put up flyers now. Secondly, release your GF into the wild as well. Extremely messed up that she did this. And like others are saying, if she's not freaked out that it could be in the house, then she knows it's not. And dead or alive, it's definitely outside of the house. Your GF doesn't respect you. Leave. Good luck, OP. I hope by some miracle, someone finds your snake outside and okay. Reply. It's literally cold and raining right now and he's been captivity for his whole life. If he did get released, he dead if update 1 girlfriend. Yeah, I released him at the lake, but I just want the house to have pure vibes, you know? Girlfriend, I know I fucked up and I fucked up real bad. It was an impulse decision. Girlfriend. We can pick out a new one, but something smaller like a gecko instead. Update 2. I went to the lake to search with my friend I was chilling with. Couldn't find the snake and talked to the GF. We're currently on break, but we're in the same house. Not sure how that's gonna pan out. Update 3. Didn't sleep all night. Went to the lake, 15-minute drive. And I found the snake, but unfortunately it looks like it got attacked by another animal, as it has huge marks on him and looks impaled. Well, with the GF, I am going to break up with her and go no contact. But right now, I have to find a way to get my name off lease papers, and other documents too. RIP, he's dead, snake bro. OOP in comments after finding the ball python. Updated, I found Brosnake, but he's gone, man. Another animal or something attacked him and he's dead. I have the dead snake in a Tupperware container right now, not his and Klaus. It's fucked too because I wanted the snake to be around for my kids. Stories number 12. I didn't spend the night at my boyfriend's house because it was so awful. So my boyfriend and I had been dating for about a month. And last weekend I finally spent the night at his house for the first time. At first, everything was fine. His apartment was pretty clean. He cooked. We watched a movie, and it was a super cozy atmosphere. But when it came time to actually get into bed, I swear my soul left my body. His bed looked filthy. The sheets were a little gray, like they used to be white, and the pillows, oh my god, they were yellow, flat, lumpy, and stained, like they had survived multiple world wars. I couldn't tell if the smell was old sweat, cat hair, or history. At first I tried to play it cool, just kind of laughing like, wow, when did you last change these? He said very casually, oh, I've had these since I was a kid. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. This man had been sleeping on the same pillow for over a decade. I honestly told him that it was making me uncomfortable. I didn't want to be rude, but I just couldn't bring myself to sleep in that bed. He immediately got defensive, saying, you didn't do anything. They're just pillows, AIO. I didn't spend the night at my boyfriend's house because it was so awful. I said, they're more than just pillows. They're biohazards at this point. He got angry and called me overly dramatic and ungrateful because he'd made dinner and everything. I told him I was grateful, but I just couldn't sleep. He fell silent and said something like, if you really cared about me, this wouldn't bother you. At this point, I grabbed my bag and went home. The next day, he texted me saying I embarrassed him and made him feel like I thought he was dirty. I told him I just wanted basic hygiene, clean sheets, new pillows. That's all. He said I was overreacting, so now I sit here and wonder, did I really overreact because I didn't want to sleep in a dirty 10-year-old bed? Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. I'm a single dude with a dog that lives inside with me and I'm a fucking slob. But if someone is going to be spending the night, They get a clean kitchen, a clean bathroom, clean freshly washed sheets and pillows. If you're gonna be spending the night at my house and sleeping in the same bed as me, you should be comfortable and not feeling all skeezed out by dog hair and dirt that the dog tracks everywhere, as well as a clean bathroom with a freshly scrubbed commode. Because I want you to be comfortable a month in, and if you loved me, WTF, if he cared about you, he should want you to be comfortable instead of acting like a sleazeball. And this isn't because the sheets are old. It's because they're fucking nasty and never get washed. Growing up, I slept on the same sheets for years, but I washed them every week, and while over time the color faded, they were never skeevy. This guy is fucking nasty, and you really don't want him in your bed either. Because of that's how he takes care of his bed. That's gonna be how he takes care of himself. Be all telling you, I don't need a shower if you love me. Yuck. Commenter 2. Why is he more embarrassed by your comment instead of being embarrassed by his own bed? Yeah, you're not overreacting on this one. Commenter 3. I feel you. I once tried to sleep on a guy's old bed and literally couldn't. Hygiene boundaries are valid. You're not being dramatic. Commenter 4. Nah. This is something some guys need to learn the hard way. Get yourself some decent stuff in bed, and clean your bed linen at least once every fortnight. This is an issue that arises when a guy has been single too long. We could sleep on a cardboard box with a sleeping bag and think that is fine. You did not overreact. Stories number 13. Aita for refusing to help my brother after his ex-girlfriend scammed him out of nearly half the equity of his house. I 37F have an older brother George, 45 mim, who isn't an idiot but he can be lazy. Definitely the type to rely on weapon Z incompetence whenever women and girls are around. Example. He literally acted like he didn't know where our mom kept the paper plates in the house he lived in for nearly 20 years just so she'd get up, go into the kitchen and make him his plate during the holidays. Just 1 week post her bunion surgery. Side note. They both tried to passive-aggressively make me feel guilty for not offering to fix my adult brothers so our mom wouldn't have to do it. Like I wasn't the only doing the most of cooking, and would be doing most of cleaning afterwards. At age 30, George was given a windfall from our grandfather's estate. I got something too, and used it as a down payment for a nice 5-bedroom house, and that easily worth double now. During this time he met Melinda 50th, and she was nice lady. Smart, responsible, hard-working, sweet, and very organized. She came into the relationship with a steady job, and was upfront about lack of ability to have more children after complications from nearly losing her life, giving her to her daughter. George stated that he was okay with that. But whenever Melinda would bring up his hesitation regarding marriage, he'd say that he had complicated feelings about not being able to be a father if he chose to fully commit to her that he needed to process, saying that since he was willing to look over her fertility issues because he loved her, that she needed to show her love by waiting for him. That line worked for 12 years. After Melinda moved in, George demanded that she pay half the bills and part of his mortgage in exchanging for allowing Melinda's daughter to move in with her. At the time, Melinda had little options as her former landlord was raising the rent too high, and she was helping pay for her sister's medicals bills. Melinda and George justified to everyone by saying what she would have had to pay. To George was still cheaper in rent at her old place. I said nothing because not my relationship. 2 years ago, George was caught cheating, and Melinda was furious, then left. I don't know all the details, but she came back seeming to work things out. Didn't stop George from cheating, but Melinda shrugged and said that this was still a better deal, and so long as kept it from the house she's cope. Recently, there was some type of damage to George's house, and he needed people to come in and fix it. But he hated the labor of searching for a reliable contractor. Taking time away from his job hobbies to deal with them and the paperwork, Melinda offered to do it and he didn't question it. Whatever she gave, he signed, and in front of third-party witnesses, Melinda got George to sign paperwork stating that she was entitled to 45% of his house. Now she's dumped him and is demanding that George either sell his house or buy her out. George is trying to fight this, citing that he didn't fully understand what he was agreeing to, and he's found a lawyer willing to take his case, but his fees are expensive. George and our mom think that I should help, but I'm refusing. I don't see why I have to shell out thousands to save another grown man from his own lack foresight, especially when there's a good chance he won't even win. I'm being called heartless and a bad sister, so I have to ask Aita? Comments. Commenter 1 NTA George had it coming. Stringing that woman along for years, manipulating her by making her feel guilty over not being able to have more children, having her pay half the mortgage for his house, and then cheating on her. He made the bed. Let him lay in it. Commenter 2 NTA. Your brother is a cheater and a fool. Was Melinda a bit underhanded? Arguably, yes. Does she deserve a share of the house in return for all she paid into it, not to mention 12 years of domestic and emotional labor? Arguably also, yes. But when it comes to whether you should shell out for your brother's legal fees, the answer is an unequivocal no. He was a huge and ridiculously careless with his most significant asset. And that's not your responsibility to fix. He's an adult. He needs to fix his own mistake. Commenter 3 NTA, George made bad choices and is responsible for the mess that followed. Further, he is not that intelligent. If he is signing something without reading it, Melinda may have acted underhanded. But I'm not mad at her about it, because George used her. He strung her along and let her pay rent and mortgage. She is entitled to this share, as she sacrificed years for him. She could have found someone better, she now can. But still the years she wasted on him will never come back. Anyway, George reaped what he had sowed. It's deserved. And I wouldn't want to pay for his mistake either. Commenter 4. NTA, you're already supporting your brother by not continuously laughing at his stupidity. He's definitely TAH of this story. If I were you, I would be physically hurt by not calling him out on his behavior. Update. Aita for refusing to help my brother. After his ex-girlfriend scammed him out of nearly half the equity of his house. Quick recap, brother and mother are trying to guilt me into giving my brother money to pay for an attorney in order to prevent brother's former long-term live-in girlfriend from getting a payout after he claims she tricked him into signing documents making her a partial owner. Okay, there's been an update, and I have to say, while I still don't think my brother is an idiot overall, he is a lazy and very arrogant dumbass. I also wanted to clarify a few things as well. Melinda and my brother were in a relationship for 12 years, but they only started living together for about 9 to 10 years. Also, the documents were signed in the presence of a notary, who asked my brother if he understood the context of the documents, and he affirmed that he did. And to the person who said that my brother was house poor, you hit the nail on the hammer. My brother spent the majority of his inheritance and savings on buying that house, and it barely had any furniture in it. When Melinda moved in, she paid to have it furnished on top of splitting the utilities and paying rent. Now on to the new stuff. When my brother's house needed fixing, he let Melinda do the grunt work of finding reputable establishments to consider because he didn't want to be bothered. Melinda presented him with up to 3 options and convinced him to go with Company A. Not real name because they were offering seasonal discounts for first-time customers and/or new owners for specific items. Melinda's plan to get the both discounts was to present it as if she recently became the partial owner and had my brother email Company A to see if they'd be willing to accept that. Company A responded that if Melinda recently became part owner of the house, then they'd be willing to give a partial discount as a courtesy. Company A was a small business but with an excellent reputation in terms of service, quality of work, and meeting deadlines, so my brother was all in. What my brother didn't realize was that Company A went by the honor system when it came to Melinda, and my brother's case, but on their website, it did say proper document needed to be shown, so Melinda told my brother that she'd come up with fake documents that he could sign in the presence of a notary that she knew through a friend who was supposed to be in on the scam. They weren't, but that's what she told my brother. The actual signing was at their home in front of the notary, and 2 people from Company A who were initially there to survey the area. So basically my brother thought that he and Melinda were scamming Company A when in reality Melinda was scamming him. He thought the documents he was signing were fake, but they were real, and that's his defense. This is why he had trouble finding a lawyer. Wouldn't blame anyone here who thought that this was fake because WTF? So anyway, I'm not going to give him the money, but I will give him a list of realtors. Comments. Commenter 1. So his defense is, I thought we were scamming a company, but really she was scamming me, Your Honor. Yeah, I think it's best to stay out of this one. Reply, I almost peed myself when I laughed. Commenter 2. It sounds like she did actually contribute financially to the house. After 10 years, most people are considered to be in a settled relationship. And it's not like she got part ownership, then next day demanded half the sale price. Being a moron isn't considered a defense, and the whole situation is a clusterfuck of he said. I think you are being very sensible to stay out of it, and not contribute towards your brother's legal fees. He's going to lose anyway, and should take the hit. There is no loophole for him to find to nullify her share of the house, and to be honest, she is probably entitled as she's been living with him for so long. He's an unreliable narrator. And after you remove all the extra crap he's saying, he basically wants her out on the street after 10 years without a penny to her name. Commenter 3. Is that what he told you? I seriously doubt this is the truth. The truth is, she probably put up the money to do the repairs in exchange for part ownership. If this story is the truth, then he is totally the idiot. Anyway, he is getting what he deserved and what she deserves. Hope this turns out well for her. Commenter 4. Did she actually put in the brunt of the work? Is there a chance that you are getting things spun to make this seem more predatory on her part? 10 years is a long time to live together and have her give up any possible financial equity or sweat equity poured into a home. Stories number 14. If I told my roommate she can't have her boyfriend over anymore after what I found in my bathroom? I 24F live with my roommate Sarah 25F. We've been living together for about 8 months. Separate bedrooms, but we share a bathroom. Rent is split 50-50. Utilities too, everything's been fine. Example. He literally acted like he didn't know where our mom kept the paper plates in the house he lived in for nearly 20 years just so she'd get up, go into the kitchen and make him his plate during the holidays. Just 1 week post her bunion surgery. Side note. They both tried to passive-aggressively make me feel guilty for not offering to fix my adult brothers so our mom wouldn't have to do it. Like I wasn't the only doing the most of cooking, and would be doing most of cleaning afterwards. At age 30, George was given a windfall from our grandfather's estate. I got something too, and used it as a down payment for a nice 5-bedroom house, and that easily worth double now. During this time, he met Melinda 50th, and she was nice lady. Smart, responsible, hard-working, sweet, and very organized. She came into the relationship with a steady job, and was upfront about lack of ability to have more children after complications from nearly losing her life, giving her to her daughter. George stated that he was okay with that. But whenever Melinda would bring up his hesitation regarding marriage, he'd say that he had complicated feelings about not being able to be a father if he chose to fully commit to her that he needed to process, saying that since he was willing to look over her fertility issues because he loved her, that she needed to show her love by waiting for him. That line worked for 12 years. After Melinda moved in, George demanded that she pay half the bills and part of his mortgage in exchanging for allowing Melinda's daughter to move in with her. At the time, Melinda had little options as her former landlord was raising the rent too high, and she was helping pay for her sister's medicals bills. Melinda and George justified to everyone by saying what she would have had to pay. To George was still cheaper in rent at her old place. I said nothing because not my relationship. 2 years ago, George was caught cheating, and Melinda was furious, then left. I don't know all the details, but she came back seeming to work things out. Didn't stop George from cheating, but Melinda shrugged and said that this was still a better deal, and so long as kept it from the house she's cope. Recently, there was some type of damage to George's house, and he needed people to come in and fix it. But he hated the labor of searching for a reliable contractor, taking time away from his job hobbies to deal with them and the paperwork. Melinda offered to do it, and he didn't question it. Whatever she gave, he signed, and in front of third-party witnesses, Melinda got George to sign paperwork stating that she was entitled to 45% of his house. Now she's dumped him and is demanding that George either sell his house or buy her out. George is trying to fight this, citing that he didn't fully understand what he was agreeing to, and he's found a lawyer willing to take his case, but his fees are expensive. George and our mom think that I should help, but I'm refusing. I don't see why I have to shell out thousands to save another grown man from his own lack foresight, especially when there's a good chance he won't even win. I'm being called heartless and a bad sister, so I have to ask Aita? Comments. Commenter 1 NTA. George had it coming. Stringing that woman along for years, manipulating her by making her feel guilty over not being able to have more children, having her pay half the mortgage for his house, and then cheating on her. He made the bed. Let him lay in it. Commenter 2 NTA. Your brother is a cheater and a fool. Was Melinda a bit underhanded? Arguably, yes. Does she deserve a share of the house in return for all she paid into it, not to mention 12 years of domestic and emotional labor? Arguably also, yes. But when it comes to whether you should shell out for your brother's legal fees, the answer is an unequivocal no. He was a huge AH and ridiculously careless with his most significant asset. And that's not your responsibility to fix. He's an adult. He needs to fix his own mistake. Commenter 3 NTA. George made bad choices and is responsible for the mess that followed. Further, he is not that intelligent. If he is signing something without reading it, Melinda may have acted underhanded. But I'm not mad at her about it, because George used her. He strung her along and let her pay rent and mortgage. She is entitled to this share, as she sacrificed years for him. She could have found someone better, she now can. But still the years she wasted on him will never come back. Anyway, George reaped what he had sowed. It's deserved. And I wouldn't want to pay for his mistake either. Commenter 4. NTA, you're already supporting your brother by not continuously laughing at his stupidity. He's definitely TAH of this story. If I were you, I would be physically hurt by not calling him out on his behavior. Update. Aita for refusing to help my brother. After his ex-girlfriend scammed him out of nearly half the equity of his house. Quick recap, brother and mother are trying to guilt me into giving my brother money to pay for an attorney in order to prevent brother's former long-term live-in girlfriend from getting a payout after he claims she tricked him into signing documents making her a partial owner. Okay, there's been an update, and I have to say, while I still don't think my brother is an idiot overall, he is a lazy and very arrogant dumbass. I also wanted to clarify a few things as well. Melinda and my brother were in a relationship for 12 years, but they only started living together for about 9 to 10 years. Also, the documents were signed in the presence of a notary, who asked my brother if he understood the context of the documents, and he affirmed that he did. And to the person who said that my brother was house poor, you hit the nail on the hammer. My brother spent the majority of his inheritance and savings on buying that house, and it barely had any furniture in it. When Melinda moved in, she paid to have it furnished on top of splitting the utilities and paying rent. Now on to the new stuff. When my brother's house needed fixing, he let Melinda do the grunt work of finding reputable establishments to consider because he didn't want to be bothered. Melinda presented him with up to 3 options and convinced him to go with Company A. Not real name because they were offering seasonal discounts for first-time customers and/or new owners for specific items. Melinda's plan to get the both discounts was to present it as if she recently became the partial owner and had my brother email Company A to see if they'd be willing to accept that. Company A responded that if Melinda recently became part owner of the house, then they'd be willing to give a partial discount as a courtesy. Company A was a small business but with an excellent reputation in terms of service, quality of work, and meeting deadlines, so my brother was all in. What my brother didn't realize was that Company A went by the honor system when it came to Melinda and my brother's case, but on their website, it did say proper document needed to be shown, so Melinda told my brother that she'd come up with fake documents that he could sign in the presence of a notary that she knew through a friend who was supposed to be in on the scam. They weren't, but that's what she told my brother. The actual signing was at their home in front of the notary, and 2 people from Company A who were initially there to survey the area. So basically my brother thought that he and Melinda were scamming Company A when in reality Melinda was scamming him. He thought the documents he was signing were fake, but they were real, and that's his defense. This is why he had trouble finding a lawyer. Wouldn't blame anyone here who thought that this was fake because WTF? So anyway, I'm not going to give him the money, but I will give him a list of realtors. Comments. Commenter 1. So his defense is, I thought we were scamming a company, but really she was scamming me, Your Honor. Yeah, I think it's best to stay out of this one. Reply, I almost peed myself when I laughed. Commenter 2. It sounds like she did actually contribute financially to the house. After 10 years, most people are considered to be in a settled relationship. And it's not like she got part ownership, then next day demanded half the sale price. Being a moron isn't considered a defense, and the whole situation is a clusterfuck of he said. I think you are being very sensible to stay out of it, and not contribute towards your brother's legal fees. He's going to lose anyway, and should take the hit. There is no loophole for him to find to nullify her share of the house, and to be honest, she is probably entitled as she's been living with him for so long. He's an unreliable narrator. And after you remove all the extra crap he's saying, he basically wants her out on the street after 10 years without a penny to her name. Commenter 3. Is that what he told you? I seriously doubt this is the truth. The truth is, she probably put up the money to do the repairs in exchange for part ownership. If this story is the truth, then he is totally the idiot. Anyway, he is getting what he deserved and what she deserves. Hope this turns out well for her. Commenter 4. Did she actually put in the brunt of the work? Is there a chance that you are getting things spun to make this seem more predatory on her part? 10 years is a long time to live together and have her give up any possible financial equity or sweat equity poured into a home. Stories number 14. If I told my roommate she can't have her boyfriend over anymore after what I found in my bathroom? I 24F live with my roommate Sarah 25F. We've been living together for about 8 months. Separate bedrooms, but we share a bathroom. Rent is split 50-50. Utilities too, everything's been fine. Sarah's boyfriend started staying over a lot about 3 months ago, like multiple nights a week. I didn't really care at first because he's quiet and usually just stays in her room. I figured whatever, it's her space too. But then I started noticing my stuff going missing. Small things. Like my shampoo would run out way faster than it should. My razor, one of my towels just disappeared. I thought maybe I was being paranoid or forgetting things. 2 weeks ago I bought this specific face moisturizer that's like $40. I use it every night. It's in a tub so you can tell how much is left. I used it Monday night and there was plenty left. Wednesday I go to use it and it's almost empty. Like more than half the tub is just gone. I texted Sarah and asked if she used my face cream. She said no. I let it go, but I was pretty sure someone did. So yesterday I got home early from work. Sarah wasn't home, but I heard the shower running. I figured she got home before me, but then I heard a man's voice. Singing. It was her boyfriend. I knocked on the bathroom door like, hey, I need to grab something. He goes, just a sec. And when he opens the door, he's in a towel and I can see behind him. My lotion is sitting on the counter. My body wash is in the shower. He's clearly been using all my stuff. I was so caught off guard I didn't even say anything. I just grabbed what I needed and left. But I'm furious. He doesn't pay rent. He doesn't live here. And he's using up my expensive products without asking. I texted Sarah last night and told her we need to talk. I said I'm not comfortable with her boyfriend staying over anymore if he's going to treat my things like they're communal. She called me and got really defensive, saying I'm overreacting and it's just soap and lotion. I said it's $40 face cream and also the principle of it. She said her boyfriend probably didn't realize it was mine and thought it was hers. I said he's been over enough to know what's hers and what's mine. She said I'm being petty and controlling and she's allowed to have guests. I told her fine, but he needs to bring his own stuff or replace what he uses. She said I'm being ridiculous and hung up on me. Now she's barely speaking to me, and her boyfriend hasn't been over since. My other friend says I should have just talked to the boyfriend directly instead of making it Sarah's problem. But like, he's not on the lease? I shouldn't have to manage her guest? Wibta, if I hold firm on this? Comments, commenter 1, now you ain't wrong. Dude's basically freeloading and using your stuff like he pays bills, I'd be pissed too. Commenter 2, someone's guest shouldn't be there when that person is not there. They shouldn't have complete access to your space when no one else is home. Commenter 3, I'm surprised more isn't being made of him being in the apartment without the girlfriend. I'd feel uncomfortable with the roommate giving out house keys. Commenter 4 NTA, also you came home to him being there alone without your roommate? That would skeeve me out even more. Who knows what the heck he's getting into alone in your place? Not to mention the safety issue. Sorry to get really dark, but what if he assaulted you? It would be your word against his, and sounds like idiot roommate would choose to believe her boyfriend over you. Be glad he hasn't been over since and look into getting the roommate out of there as well. Stories number 15. My mom died today and I am not okay. I went to bed last night worried because my 20-year-old cat is on his way out. I had no idea how bad today really would be. My cat is still here, but I received a phone call telling me that my mom passed away. It was completely unexpected and a shock. She was in her early 70s and healthy. No diseases or heart issues, still very active, living independently, etc. Apparently, she told her boyfriend she was going to lay down for a bit and she never woke up. When they checked on her, she was gone. The police called me because I'm the next of kin. She never remarried after divorcing my dad, and I'm her only child. I'm over 600 miles away and I feel completely and utterly clueless what to do. The police said there didn't appear to be any foul play involved, and that the medical examiner's office would be doing an autopsy and calling me this week. My aunt, my mom's sister, lives close to her and is going to help as much as possible. I've been going in and out of both crying and disbelief all day. I can't believe I'll never hear her voice again. I thought I'd get another 15+ years with her. My mom is the reason I know that voicemails have a 4-minute limit. She would fill the whole message every time, often telling me about grocery prices and every little thing that happened to her that day. I'm worried about all the legal stuff and I'm hoping I don't screw it up. I'm worried about my kids missing school for several days because we need to leave the state for a funeral. But mostly I'm sad that my mom is gone. Comments. Commenter 1. As a teacher I say, please do not feel bad for your kids missing school. Take the time they need and that feels right. When my grandma passed away, I didn't take enough time and I ended up having to take some incompletes and finish over the summer. Commenter 2, oh man, this is terrible. You are going to get through this. Just take one breath at a time. So many big internet hugs for you. I am so sorry, reply, thanks so much, yes. I need to try and think just one step at a time. Commenter 3, remember, you don't have to respond immediately. Take a day or hours or whatever you need when you need it. One little step at a time. Commenter 4, been in your shoes. Let me give you some advice that I learned the hard way. Whatever you are feeling at any one particular moment to the next, it is okay. Sometimes you'll be fine. In denial, in disbelief and back and forth between every emotion or way of thinking. That's completely normal. You will get through this, but it takes about 12 months before you start to be normal again. It's heartbreaking not to have that one constant in your life not there anymore. It's nearly 15 years since my own mum passed away suddenly from a pulmonary embolism. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't miss her. I am the youngest of 3, and the first to get married. My mum never got to see that, and she never got to meet my son not so long ago. I heard a beautiful quote on the radio about dealing with the loss of a loved one. Grief is just love with nowhere to go. Stories. Number 16. My boyfriend's 10-year-old son came to live with us after months of abuse, and it's breaking my heart watching him try to feel safe. I don't even really know how to start this. My boyfriend's 10-year-old son came to live with us recently, after being taken out of his mom's house because of horrible abuse from her boyfriend. We always had our suspicions that something wasn't right over there, but we had no idea just how bad it really was until CPS got involved. Her boyfriend had been locking him in a cupboard, actually making him sleep in there at night. He'd withhold food, hit him, scream at him, and call him names. He told this little boy awful things before anyone wonders why his dad didn't step in sooner. It wasn't because he didn't care. He's always loved his son and wanted to be in his life. But his ex made it nearly impossible. She constantly moved without telling him, blocked his number, and even lied to the court about where she was living. She's also been struggling with pills for a long time, and that's when everything really started to fall apart. When she was using heavily, she'd disappear for days, or let her boyfriend handle everything. And that's when most of the abuse happened. My boyfriend tried to fight for custody, but every time he got close, she would vanish again or make up some story. It wasn't until recently that she finally resurfaced, and that's when CPS got involved and everything came to light. The guilt eats him up. He's been living with us for about 3 months now. He's safe, he's loved, he has his own bed and room and food whenever he's hungry, but you can tell he still doesn't believe it. He acts like every kind gesture is a trick. He's such a gentle kid, so sweet and careful, but he's also constantly on edge. If someone shuts a door too hard, he jumps out of his skin. If anyone raises their voice, even if it's just laughing loudly or calling out from another room, he goes completely still. He also apologizes constantly. He says it for everything. Dropping something, bumping into a chair, even just asking for a snack. It's like he's wired to expect punishment for existing. The sleeping situation is the hardest part. We tried to make his room special, but almost every night, I find him curled up under the kitchen sink. I asked him once why he liked it there, and he told me softly, "No one can find me here. It's quiet." I didn't even know what to say. I just sat on the floor beside him for a while and rubbed his back. We don't force him to sleep in his bed. I figure he'll use it when he's ready. He also has really bad separation anxiety, especially with his dad, if my boyfriend has to go to work. It's heartbreaking. He clings to him and cries. When his dad finally has to go, he'll go inside his closet and just sit in the dark. I stay home during the day, so it's just me and him most of the time. At first he barely spoke to me. He'd keep his distance, only nod or shake his head. He started to open up. Now he'll come sit next to me on the couch, and sometimes he'll put his head on my shoulder. He likes to be near me when I cook. He'll stand and just watch. Recently, he started asking if he can help. We make small things together, like scrambled eggs or sandwiches, and I let him stir or hand me things. He started to show small signs of trust, like if I'm folding laundry, he'll come sit beside me and start folding without being asked. If I leave the room, he'll follow me, but not in an anxious way, more like he just wants to be near someone. But there are still really hard moments. He doesn't eat much, even though we keep telling him he can have as much as he wants. He takes small portions and hides snacks in random places. Under his pillow, behind the couch. We don't scold him. We just gently tell him that food isn't going anywhere, that he can always have more. We've gotten him into therapy, and his therapist said it's going to take a lot of time, patience, and consistency. We try to give him structure and reassurance every day. Same bedtime routine, same meals, calm voices, lots of praise for little things. There are moments that give me hope, like when he really laughs over something silly, or when he curls up next to me during a movie and just relaxes. I love this kid so much. I never thought I could care this deeply for someone who isn't biologically mine, but he's completely taken over my heart. It's been emotionally heavy. Every day, I just want to give him a hug and a kiss and tell him I love him. If anyone has been through something similar, helping a child heal from severe trauma, I'd love any advice or even just words of encouragement. We're doing everything we can to make him feel safe and loved. But I know it's going to be a long road. Comments, commenter 1. Maybe a bed tent would help him feel more secure with 4 walls and a roof while he sleeps. I'm assuming his bed is a normal bed, but it's open to the entire room. Have you considered buying him a small chest to keep some snacks and water bottles in? Maybe he won't hide snacks this way. I'm very sorry to hear about the horrors he has been, though, and wish you all good luck. Commenter 2. Such awful things this poor boy has endured. It's great that you're encouraging him to get involved with cooking, helping him feel like he has some ownership over available food. Perhaps implementing an anytime snack draw basket just for him would help him feel more secure about food. Also, if possible, take him shopping and let him pick special treats just for himself or supplies for his snack basket. Keep up the love, praise, and being a safe place for this boy. Commenter 3. Everyone here has posted some great ideas, so my idea may seem a bit silly. But has he got any glow-in-the-dark stars? I was terrified of the darkness inside as a kid. And glow-in-the-dark stars soothed me so much. I even had some in my wardrobe safe place. I know being scared of the dark may seem minor, but I was terrified that someone or something was going to attack me. The stars gave me some comfort even when the lights were off. Ever since I've been conscious of how the glowing stars can really comfort kids. Commenter 4. Is his therapist a trauma-informed therapist? If not, see about getting a referral to one. You guys are exactly what that kid needs now, and you're doing an incredible job. He just needs time, and professional help, as another person suggested. A bed tent might be a good option. They even make some that have lights inside. But I also think you're doing the right thing, not forcing him to sleep in bed, and he will when he's ready. Maybe finding some sort of sleep mat for the bathroom for him to use when he wants to sleep in there. I hope he has an incredible life from here on out. Stories number 17. Aita for blowing up at my MIL at a family dinner. I 23F have been married to my husband 24M for 3 years. We were high school sweethearts and have been best friends since elementary school. He's still my best friend to this day. I've never had a great relationship with his mom. She's difficult to talk to, and our conversations are usually very shallow, gossiping about neighbors, complaining about the landscapers, etc. Almost a year ago, my mom passed away, which still feels surreal to write. She truly was my soulmate, and I'm incredibly grateful to have had her in my life for 23 years. I miss her more than words can describe. My husband's family really stepped up during that time, supporting us financially with funeral costs and managing affairs when I was deep in grief. I'm genuinely grateful for their help. Fast forward to now, we're expecting our first baby, as excited as I am. I'm also deeply saddened that my mom won't be here to guide me through this. We always talked about what my kids would call her. We had settled on Grams. Now, to the incident. We were celebrating our pregnancy at a dinner with my in-laws, and my mother-in-law asked to make a toast. She laughed and said, "I'm so grateful to celebrate a new addition to our family. We can't wait to meet little Veronica," which is her name. She went on to talk about her own pregnancy, and what I should expect, mentioning that my husband had an abnormally big head when he was born. Then she said, "I look forward to being the favorite grandma to Veronica, since of course, I'll be the only grandma." The room went silent and I started to cry. I stood up and told her how incredibly insensitive it was to say that, and that my mom would always be a grandmother, whether she's here or not. She responded by saying I was overreacting, and that it was just a joke. I told her to go to hell and left immediately. My husband later called me, saying he spoke to his mom, who was in tears because she was embarrassed. She asked him to apologize on her behalf, and he told me I should have come back instead of telling her to go to hell and storming off. I'm currently staying with my sister, and haven't stopped crying since. She supports me 100%, but I really want to know, am I the asshole? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your Mile said something severely inappropriate and insensitive. No person in their right mind would think what she said was okay, no matter how many years have passed since your mother's death. Hell, my grandmother passed away almost 10 years ago, and when my son was born 2 years ago, my mom and I talked a lot about how much we missed her, and how we wished she was here to see him. We still say this often. When he's reached a milestone, or we're just doing something we know she would have enjoyed, it's natural to think about deceased relatives more at a time like this. And she says something as callous as that? NTA, commenter 2, NTA. Speaking as a husband who has a mom like this. You need to seriously have a discussion with him about his mom's behavior. He has the power to change how his mother treats you. And it seems like he's okay with what she did and expects you to apologize. I understand it's his mom, but he chose to live a life with you and start a family. That needs to be his priority, not mommy's feelings. Commenter 3 NTA? Please allow me to recap. Mill desecrated the memory of your mother while simultaneously attempting to elevate her place in the family. Husband is put out that you left the scene, before giving Mill a chance to weasel her way out via a vicarious apology. Have I got that right? You have a husband problem and a MIL problem. Let's hope that the former corrects itself before the birth. If husband even whispers that Veronica should be included as any part of the name, then take it for the giant. Flashing red light that it is. Update. Just want to take a moment to thank you all for your support. Your comments and messages have been incredibly eye-opening. After staying with my sister for a few days, my husband came over. He said he understood why I was hurt but felt I overreacted. He asked me to apologize to my MIL to keep the peace, which felt like a betrayal. I had hoped he would stand up for me. That night, my Mill sent a long text doubling down on her joke and saying my grief is becoming a burden on everyone. She told me I need to seek professional help and move on, since it's been almost a year. I was devastated. I showed my husband, but he got angry at me for escalating things. He said I should make peace with her for our child's sake, and that he didn't want to be caught in the middle. I've decided to take some space and stay with my sister. I'm really struggling to come to terms with this. This whole situation has made me question if my marriage is right for me and my baby. I need an environment where I feel respected and supported. And I don't feel that way right now. I told my husband that if he wants me back, he needs to show me he can stand up for me. I'm putting myself and my baby first. I don't know what will happen next, but I know I deserve better than this. My sister and I are currently turning her old office into a room, prepping for Rosie's after my mom, Rosa arrival. I feel truly blessed to have her support. Thank you again for all your support. It has meant more than you know. Stories number 18. Aita for not wanting my dad to walk me down the aisle because he's in a wheelchair. About 3 years ago, my dad was injured in a really bad hit-and-run car accident. He broke just about every bone in his body and left him paralyzed from the waist down. Our relationship has always been really good, but I hate seeing him in pain and admittedly try to avoid seeing him because it just makes me uncomfortable. In November, I'm getting married. I've been with my fiancé for 4 years, and he and my dad get on really well. Naturally, the discussion of who was going to give me away came up in the family group chat, and I kept silent after I realized my dad would be in a wheelchair. We always talked about him giving me away and having a dance at my wedding, and I don't want to be reminded of what could have been at my wedding. I messaged my mom privately and told her I want my uncle to walk me down the aisle as we're incredibly close. She naturally asked why, and I told her that my dad being in a wheelchair would add complications to the wedding. The walkway would have to be widened to accommodate his wheelchair, and he wouldn't be able to hold my arm or give me a proper hug. She was outraged, called me an ableist POS, and removed me from the group chat. My aunt has since called me telling me my dad is absolutely devastated. Aita, update. I appreciate all the people who have messaged me offering me support. Your kind words have meant a lot to me whilst rifling through a bunch of messages telling me to do horrible things to myself. Regardless of what you think of me, telling me these things isn't okay. I'm going to call my dad tomorrow. Update 2. Can people please stop messaging me such horrendous stuff? Think about what you're saying. You may not agree with me or my life, but you're just as bad as I apparently am. If you're going around saying stuff like that to strangers on the internet comments. Commenter 1 YTA. If you're putting the image of an ideal wedding over the man who raised you, YTA, there's literally no argument to be had to the contrary. Have him and your mom walk you down. She can push his wheelchair. Jumping over your mom to your uncle is a behavior too, reply. With the tradition of a male family member giving you away, I didn't really think about my mom. Commenter 2. My father died when I was 17. My mother gave me away. You have no idea how much I wish he was just in a wheelchair. Commenter 3 YTA. You need to take a good, hard look at yourself. Absolutely disgusting behavior. I don't understand why weddings bring out such despicable behavior in so many people. Your poor father. If I was your family, I'd boycott your wedding. And that's if your fiancé doesn't realize what a horrible person he's about to marry beforehand. Commenter 4. I have no words for you, except for you being a very narcissistic kind of YTA. I hope your fiancé reconsiders his commitment to you and dumps you in the most humiliating way possible. Commenter 5 YTA. I'm a girl too, and my dad has been in a wheelchair for as long as I can remember. I was reminded of what could have been in movies, TV shows, etc. But there isn't a question on who will be the one to walk me down the aisle when I eventually have my wedding. I love him the way he is, and would never exclude him because of his condition. In fact, I would be honored to have him give me away. I would have understood your decision more if it was because your father was in constant pain, but he is perfectly able to wheel himself down that aisle and give you away on your wedding day. Your desire to have your uncle walk you down is selfish and cruel. I would never sideline my own father like that. And to top it all off, you didn't suggest this in private. You did it in the family group chat where everyone could see. How self-centered and self-righteous do you have to be to humiliate your dad like that? Someone who you claim to care about. You need to apologize and fast, daughter that doesn't want her dad at wedding because he is in a wheelchair. Reply. It's been hard on everyone watching my dad struggle. I don't want pity, but it has been hard. Commenter 6. Don't worry, no one's pitying you. Reply. You take a hard look in the mirror and ask yourself why you're so concerned with somebody you don't even know. You are no better than me. Commenter 7. Has your fiancé taken a hard look at who he's marrying yet? Update. Not that I owe it to anyone, but I thought I'd give you all an update. My boyfriend and I have decided to part ways, and I've apologized to my dad. Comments. Commenter 1. I just saw a YouTube video covering your post and wanted to ask, do you understand now why your original thinking wasn't good and why people were upset with you? Have you changed your thinking regarding your stance for the future? Reply. Wedding's off, so doesn't matter. Commenter 2. Well, it might matter in the future if you get engaged again. I wish you well. Hope that you have better experiences in the future and can learn from this hard time in your life. Stories number 19. Aita for telling my husband I'm done after he ripped up our marriage certificate and threw it in the trash. Edit to add, yes, I'm well aware I should have known my worth and put myself first. I should have stepped out years ago, not only for me, but also for my children. People do really stupid things when they think they love someone and just want things to get better. Stupid, I know, but it's too late to change the past. That's why I would rather focus on changing my future. Bit of a long story, so I'll try to keep it as short as possible. Me and my husband have been together 14 years, married for 4. Things have always been rocky with lots of fights, but we always worked through it because that's what we thought you did for someone you love. For years now, it's been the same fight every time we fight. He barely makes an effort. I get upset and tell him how I feel. He can't take accountability and loves to play the victim, thus escalating every fight, leaving me feeling unheard and uncared about. The last 2 years I've really stepped back emotionally, as it's hard to be 100% with someone that makes you feel like you're just around for convenience. Recently I was working out of town, 2-hour drive to work, and around 2 hours after on top of a 12-hour night shift. First 2 days went well until day 3 hit, and I had 6 hours of sleep in 72 hours, so I made the call to get a hotel for my safety. That was the biggest mistake I could have made apparently, as this decision meant I didn't care about him, our family. I hated being at home. I was a cheater, ECT. Just because I didn't feel safe to drive. At this point I was fed up and made that clear. I told him I don't know if things will work out because we have a lot of stuff to work on between the two of us to get to that point. Asked for space to think on things. He could not allow me space. He spent an entire day following me around, crying, screaming, and begging me to just talk. It didn't matter how many times I said, not right now, I'll talk when I'm ready and calm. Of course he didn't like this answer, so he ran to the other room, grabbed our marriage certificate, brought it out, and shredded in front of me before throwing it in the garbage. I told him he couldn't come back from that, and I was done. He's still texting me, begging for me to give him another chance, and that I'm destroying our family. Do I feel guilty, and like it's all my fault? Yeah, a little. So I want to know, am I the asshole or am I justified? Comments. Commenter 1. I couldn't think of a more symbolic way to show my spouse I don't care. NTA, good luck in the divorce. Commenter 2. NTA, he's showing you who he is. Believe him. You need to take care of yourself. Commenter 3. Of course he didn't like this answer, so he ran to the other room, grabbed our marriage certificate, brought it out, and shredded in front of me before throwing it in the garbage. A grown man doesn't behave this way. My 8-year-old doesn't even behave this way. Why would you put up with this childish and immature behavior? Don't you want better for yourself? NTA. Commenter 4. He's an absolute fuckwit, and he's always going to be one. That wasn't a moment of stress. That was planned dramatics. No one has their marriage certificate just lying around ready to be ripped up. Stories number 20. My boyfriend single-handedly saved my friend's poorly planned disaster wedding. My best friend of 23 years announced in July she was engaged and asked me to be her maid of honor. I honestly didn't think our friendship was that close after being out of high school for 18 years. But I said yes. Planning started fine, but slowly devolved into chaos. S is extremely particular, wanting everything for her wedding at her exact specifications, while also having a dime store budget straight up cheap. She insisted she host the reception in her LDS church gym, while also declaring it hideous and insisting on ordering full-wall floor-to-ceiling pipe and draping and ceiling bistro lights. Despite wanting this, she was unwilling to pay for it, and also bemoaned the expense. I finally stepped back from wedding planning in August, because she was too demanding and exhausting. I told her my boyfriend and I would be happy to help her with some of the wedding setup the day prior, so she could order the cheaper pipe and drape package, and left her to her own planning devices. I did throw her a bridal shower last weekend with the help of her cousin. Fast forward 8 weeks. She didn't even get her invitation sent out until 3 weeks before the wedding. Or she had a 250-person guest list, insisting all of them would come, and she decided to not serve actual food. So was only doing cheesecakes and then wedding sheet cake. My boyfriend tried to tell her double dessert was not a good idea, but she was adamant. She told us to be at the LDS church at 7 a.m. the day before the wedding. My boyfriend and I were confused why she needed us that early, but figured it would be maybe 4 hours setting up tables and chairs, putting her linens on, putting down centerpieces, and then assembling the pipe and drape and be done. She gave me a list of 8 people who were all supposed to be there to set up, but no one except us and her fiancé showed up. My boyfriend very quickly and efficiently got all the tables shoved into orientation. I got chairs out. S bounced around the room in a panic, unable to decide how she wanted to configure tables. Her fiancé stood there and watched. Finally, after half an hour of S changing her mind on table placement, my boyfriend said, "Nope, we aren't changing it. This orientation is beautiful and you will love it," because he has far better communication skills than me. She was even panicking that the 6-foot-long gifts table wouldn't be large enough to hold all her gifts. My boyfriend had to leave the room to not laugh. I assured her it would be fine. I thought we were close to being done. Wrong. This woman apparently didn't do anything until that day. She purchased a bunch of cheap dollar store crap, put it all in a giant tote, and left it. She ordered linens from Shane and just put them as is in her box. She didn't open them, check them, iron them, nothing at 8:30. She opens this box and proceeds to tell us she needs all the leaves cut off the garland because she wants them loose on the tables. She wanted pumpkins glued to her centerpieces. Tea lights needed to be opened, batteries installed. She needed 27 tablecloths and table runners ironed. Napkins ironed, and she needed to figure out her bouquet. I about died when I saw the sheer lack of prep she had done. My boyfriend was fuming. S was at that point completely incapable of even figuring out where to start. She needed someone to go to Costco to buy 9 cheesecakes, go to the bakery 45 minutes away and pick up the wedding cake and the sheet cake. She needed someone to purchase wedding flowers and assemble them into a wedding bouquet. She wanted me to go to a florist and call her on Zoom to show her the flowers while she sat at the venue waiting for the pipe and drape delivery. My boyfriend said straight up no. He told her we would go to Costco. We would buy all white flowers and her cheesecakes. She claims she will repay us. She begged us to call on Zoom to show her flowers, and he said, "We are doing all white. Text us the flowers you hate so we can avoid them. Bye, we gotta move fast." She tried to ask if we could go to several different ones to find irises, and he very kindly told her no. If she wanted irises, she should have ordered flowers. She gets what Costco has, but don't worry. It's going to be beautiful and you will love it. We then ran the errands. Costco cheesecakes, sauces, flowers, ribbon, floral pins. Her job was to go home and get her iron and board. She said she was going to throw some of the tablecloths in her dryer with a wet towel to try to steam the wrinkles. Perfect. We came back at 10:30 a.m. She hadn't left. I don't even know what she was doing. My boyfriend and I then spent 2 hours building her a beautiful wedding bouquet. We found a pre-made bouquet that had some nice rust flowers and took a risk and bought it along with white roses. We had enough left over for bridesmaid bouquets too. Trust me when I say this bouquet he made was gorgeous. I would not have been able to pull it off as well as him. He then pre-cut her cheesecakes. We assembled the pipe and drape, while she just freaked out around us. Her mom and sister showed up, and I asked them to go to her house and put the linens in the dryer and return with her iron. So they went to do that, but then had to drive 45 minutes away to pick up her wedding cake and sheet cake. I told them to do that, but please stop and get the iron. They didn't. She didn't provide any food for us at all, so we left to eat lunch, returned at 1 p.m. to learn that she actually didn't own an iron. They had the wedding cake and a 96-person sheet cake. The wedding cake barely fit in the fridge alongside the cheesecakes. The sheet cake was way too big. We had to just leave it on the counter and hope the buttercream held up overnight. We still had rehearsal dinner to get ready for paid for by fiancé's family. We finally just had to leave and I said I would come back to the church after the dinner and help her iron. Dinner took entirely too long. I sent my boyfriend home because I could tell he was exhausted and he really doesn't even know her. Then she hit me with this bombshell. She wasn't going to the church to help us iron. She was moving out of her parents' house into her fiancé's apartment that night. Her sister and I tried to tell her that she didn't need to do that. Just go on the honeymoon and move the rest of the stuff when she came home. It was her parents' house, her stuff was fine, but she was adamant she had to get all her stuff into his apartment that night. I finally left the dinner to go to the church and start ironing, and I called my mom and griped about it for 30 minutes. So then, my mom drove over to help me. The rest of the night was me, my mom, S's disabled sister and her 80-year-old mother ironing linens with my iron, my mom's iron, and a cheap steamer we bought at Walmart. She left me with a written list of instructions for how to set up each table to her exact specifications. She left all of the bridesmaids' dresses, her petticoat and her wedding dress hanging in the church for me to steam and then told us to bring them to her mom's house. I didn't even leave until 1 a.m. I was fumed that she didn't even get her stupid dress professionally steamed. And after all of that, this chick forgot her bouquet in the church fridge after I explicitly told her to bring it home with her. I didn't even think about it until 5 a.m. And I broke down crying at 5 a.m. because I knew she was going to call and ask me to drive up to get her bouquet for her. And I didn't even know when I would have time for that. She called me the next morning asking me to drive 45 minutes to unlock the church for her to get her bouquet. Keep in mind, I was not invited to the wedding because it was at the LDS temple, and I am a heathen. Then told me she needed me and my boyfriend to get to the reception church 2 hours early. Finish setup, get all the lighting figured out, then manage her food table during the reception. Cutting and plating cheesecake and sheet cake, applying caramel or fruit drizzle, bringing it to the tables, keeping water refreshed, etc. She wanted me to do it because her family would obviously want to mingle with guests. She didn't plan anything for water dispensers. She didn't have a cake tray to even put her turquoise wedding cake on, so I brought my servingware from my house. Our cake tray, glass water dispensers and pitchers. My mom was so pissed on my behalf she un-RSVP'd herself to the wedding, but then she also loaned me her glass wanted dispensers too. S also needed us to buy ice for the dispensers. Buy and slice lemons. I just stopped caring at that point. She did not get lemon water at her reception. The reception was basically me and my boyfriend and 2 of our children acting as unpaid cater waiters. She was 1 hour late to her reception because she didn't plan time for photos outside the temple, and forgot to leave the guest book with me, so I spent an hour trying to entertain angry guests, explaining where the guest book was, explaining where the bride was. No one wanted to eat cheesecake until she arrived. Her dopey fiancé left their rings at his house, and he arrived 30 minutes after her because he had to drive to get them. At one point, cheesecakes were running low, and someone walked up to me and said, S noticed the cheesecake table needs to be refreshed. Thanks, excuse me, what? She then had photos going on outside the reception church. 4 pages of shots she wanted. The photographer did them backwards, and instead of starting big and waddling down, she started small and went big. So everyone was outside standing around for an hour while the other guests sat inside alone confused. I was outside for the bridesmaid photo while my boyfriend managed the food. She then came back in, cut the cake, and changed to leave. She asked me to box up any remaining cheesecakes and wrap and box her wedding cake and all of the leftover sheet cake which her mother paid for and bring it out for her to take home with her. No surprise, people didn't want double dessert. Of 9 cheesecakes, we had 4 untouched ones left over, the entire wedding cake minus 1 slice, and almost the entire sheet cake, basically 90 of 96 slices. Yes, this woman was fully planning on taking home all 4 leftover cheesecakes that we bought. An entire 96-person sheet cake and her wedding cake, somehow fit them in her tiny fridge and hoped they would be okay when she got back from her trip in a week. She was not going to share any of this leftover food with her bridal party or family, all of whom single-handedly built her reception from the ground up and paid for the cakes. My boyfriend was incredulous. He was actually cursing in the church. He was so mad at her entitlement. He said fuck no. He took her wedding cake and put it back in its box for her. He didn't wrap it in plastic or anything. He took 2 cheesecakes and put them straight into the trunk of our car for us to bring with us to a family dinner tonight. Then he boxed up half of the remaining sheet cake in an extra cake box for me to bring to work this morning to share with people. The remaining sheet cake he boxed up for anyone willing to stay after to take down the wedding. S was fully out the door on her way to the anniversary inn to lose her V-card and left me, my boyfriend, her family, and several kind ward members to clean up, take down all the pipe and draping, box up her centerpieces, linens, and then clean the church. We got home around 6 p.m. Saturday, physically in pain and angry, and gave all of our kids full stars for their chore charts. They get a prize at 10 stars, so they each got a full 10 stars. I don't even feel like I attended the wedding. I feel like I catered her wedding against my will. My boyfriend did a bulk majority of the work, assembling the backdrops, tables, breaking it all down, all heavy lifting, making 5 bouquets, which I learned he is excellent at, running the entire catering operation, cleaning the kitchen. I steamed 5 bridesmaid dresses and the wedding dress and ironed 27 tablecloths. Many family members thanked us personally for the work we put in. S's mom cried and thanked us for saving the wedding and said she prays for our family and for our health and happiness every morning. The fiancé's family thanked us and said we did well, and even offered to pay us money, which honestly felt so weird because they 100% should have thrown money at hiring actual reception staff, or better yet, an actual reception venue. S gave us a quick thanks and bounced off. I don't expect to hear from her for months. Everything about her wedding felt so cheap and tacky. Dollar Tree decorations, plastic lanterns with plastic pumpkins glued on the day before, wrinkly teal sheen tablecloths and runners. Hosted in the free church gym, complete with basketball hoop. Her wedding cake was teal with orange pumpkins piped on the top. Of her 250-person guest list, about 100 came. There were maybe 7 gifts total on the too small table, and 4 cards. I assume most people used Amazon's option to ship to the couple's address. My boyfriend said, "It's giving Mormon pregnancy wedding," which we thought was hilarious because we are all 36 and definitely too old for this mid-2000s. Cheap dollar general Pinterest board wedding vibe nonsense. Comments, commenter 1, why wouldn't you both just not do this? At a certain point it's just a, I'm sorry. You need to ask a family member to help with the rest of this. Reply, because I'm too nice and lack boundaries. If she had asked this of me a few weeks ago, I would have said no, and I die nope out of most wedding planning early on. But it really was a 7 a.m. come to setup that suddenly spiraled into realizing how little she did, and that her wedding was bordering on not happening. My boyfriend was raised LDS. I was not. He explained to me that culturally, it is rather common for friends and family and the ward to rally for their church and pull together weddings for each other because of the belief in forever families and the importance of eternal marriage. He also told me the reason he was able to make her bouquet and calm everything down is because he grew up helping his mom do exactly that for girls in their ward as well as his own huge family. But there is a reason he left the church. But the primary issue here is that AS did not have a big enough village to have been so cavalier with planning. She did not have a horde of family and a ward rallying for her. We believe this is because her demanding personality drove people away. Given that, she then failed miserably at any attempt to pre-plan or take any personal responsibility for her wedding, beyond choosing the aesthetics. Not even ironing tablecloths until 9 p.m. night before is diabolical. So I guess the reason we did it was a mixture of his religious cultural trauma, my 23-year friendship, feeling guilty for not helping earlier, and the deep cultural ideas ingrained in Utah culture surrounding wedding planning and obligation to the service of others. Not saying it's right. I definitely need to be better at boundaries. Commenter 2 YTA for putting up with that crap. I would have dropped everything and left it the first time she had you do sell the deco rationing. Nope. Grow a spine. Commenter 3, oh my god. Let the family pay you for this nightmare and never talk to her again. This was insane and painful to read. You guys single-handedly saved that event. Your boyfriend is a saint, but man, please make sure he is taken care of after this. I would be reconsidering any relationship where it wasn't appropriately addressed that that was not okay, and there would never be an expectation to interact with that person again. Commenter 4 JFC. I only read half of this disaster before coming here to say, this is why I only have like 3 real friends. The minute she started cheaping out on the floor-to-ceiling drapery, I would have ghosted this chick. The writing was on the wall. You get what you work for. Don't be a doormat for other people's dreams. If she's going to half-ass her wedding, she'll get a half-assed wedding. I would have never put this much effort into this person. I hope this is a lesson in personal growth for you, OP. People treat you the way you allow them to. This wasn't up to you to make their wedding special. They have parents and siblings and their own 2 damn arms. Stop doing 115% for people who do 15% themselves. Reply, this entire experience was very eye-opening. It made me realize a few things about my other friendships and how I can better maintain them. How to set boundaries, and was also very eye-opening about my boyfriend, who at every step of the way recognized my own lack of boundaries and possible friendship guilt and came through to support me. Stories number 21. I did not wash my rear end until I was 19 years old, and it's beyond embarrassing. For some reason, I was never taught to wash my ass growing up. It also felt weird to touch my own asshole with my bare hand, so I did not. I think I felt that wiping the ass after shitting was good enough. And it felt okay to do it because my fingers were shielded by layers of TP. We did not use washcloths in my household. Note, I am now 57. I have had a spotless annular vault for decades now, which is the only way I'm able to relate this tale of utmost cringe without collapsing in on myself. Back when I was 18 and in the US Navy, it seemed perfectly normal to avoid that area when showering. And yes, my Devil's Valley was a hot mess. I would constantly get gooey back there, to where it felt like the molten curds of fecal gelatin would start sliding out of my shorts. My solution to this problem was to ball up toilet paper and insert a kind of sanitary napkin in there after pooping. That's right. Rather than simply wash my butt, I came up with what I thought was a genius solution of tucking wads of TP back there to tamp down the gooey factor. And hey, it actually worked. I did this often in high school, but now started doing it almost every time I shat. This weird solution resulted in one of the most embarrassing moments of my entire life. I was wearing loose shorts and wrestling around with one of my fellow sailors as one does. As we wrestled about, with several other sailors cheering us on, my napkin plug popped out and fell to the floor. Instantly, everyone froze and went silent. We all looked at it, trying to determine what exactly we had here. It only took about 10 seconds. One side of the compacted tampon-sized wad was covered in brown rectal gel. The other was white, and it has clearly been compressed within a crack of fetid nature. My wrestling buddy looked at me with shock and said with a deadpan expression, "Why do you have an ass tampon?" I had no good answer. Lucky for me, this incident occurred while I was in radar school, so I only had to endure the jokes and nicknames for a few weeks before I transferred to another school. I kept stuffing napkins up there like normal, but made sure to wear snug-fitting jockey shorts at all times. Problem solved. Fast forward to a year later. Yes, folks, this gets even worse. We were stationed in Southeast Asia, a very hot and humid climate. My napkin plugs, made of cheap one-ply shipboard septic-friendly TP, would soak through with sweat and fecal curds, and I would have to replace them often. A hassle. But what else was one to do? Wash? Never occurred to me. I started to feel an itch back there. The itch was mildly uncomfortable at first, but over a couple weeks it became maddening. One night at a dance club in Singapore, all the sweat and movement had me on the brink of insanity with the itching and irritation. I began to feel actual concern for my well-being. While in the club bathroom, I pulled down my pants and looked over my shoulder into the mirror to see what is happening back there. What I saw shook me to my core. My entire ass was covered in red. Welted sores, some weeping and scratched open. I looked like some kind of disease victim. Even more concerning was that the closer it got to my anus, the rash got even more dense, red, and scary. The source appeared to be my brown place. I had to open things up and take a peek. There was no choice here. Slowly, I parted my ass cheeks to gaze into my very own brown eye of Sauron for the first time in my life. My cheeks were almost stuck together from the broken, leaking sores and scabs. The very center, my poor rectum, was like the red eye of a very angry bacterial hurricane. Despite my tendency for denial, I immediately thought, I am going to die. It was like something you see in a medical textbook and ask, who lets this happen to themselves? The best description I can think of is severe second-degree burns which had been scratched open and smeared with human feces while leaking pus. The very next morning I went to the doctor on the ship. I did not mention the whole napkin plug system, which I was very much afraid had contributed to my current issue. I just said, I have an infection back there, I think. Now, on a Navy ship there's a real doctor and officer. But the person who preps you is often just a regular dude like you who's a basic med tech right out of boot camp. I will never forget his reaction when I bent over the exam table and pulled down my underwear. God bless him. He tried to play it off like no big deal. But I heard him stifle a deep gag, and he immediately left the room. his face as pale as death. The doctor, a seasoned Navy veteran, finally came into me, on full display, and even he was like, oh boy, as he gazed upon the magnificence of my rotting, corpse-like rectal zone. He gave me a tub of antibacterial ointment and told me, keep the area very clean, which I immediately started doing. And since the ointment had to be placed directly on the whole area, I got very used to touching my most secret area. And soon I was just like all of you, a normal, ass-washing, ass-touching, non-infected man. If you are a young or even an old person reading this with issues regarding personal hygiene, please learn from my lesson. Please, commenter 1. It's my fault for being literate. GUI will be forever branded into my memory. At least you eventually got there, OP. Where your upbringing failed to teach you, life taught you instead. Proud of you for keeping it up through the years, ETA. I just did the math, and you've now had a clean asshole for 2-3 of your life. That's a worthy accomplishment. Commenter 2, you have a talent with writing. It's not often my brain wants to read longer posts, but when they are written with wit, humor, honesty, and solid advice, I dive in. I'm glad your bum has recovered. Often we don't know what we don't know until we know. It's a great reminder that not everyone is taught basic skills. Then people are forced to learn throughout their own unwanted experiences to build those skills. Knowledge and wisdom. Lived experience is always the best teacher. I'll be showing this post to my teenage son who refuses to listen to anything I say about hygiene. Reply, I've told the story many times in my life. I have very little shame at age 57, and I think hygiene issues should be discussed more, with openness. I admit I am a bit freaked out that this post got like 77k views in the first hour, though that does not bode well. My boss will never let me hear the end of it if he reads this, ha ha ha. Commenter 3, this one was indeed captivatingly gag-worthy, but I gotta say, it's just a close runner-up. Few years ago, I stumbled upon a Reddit confession of a fella who was like 15, 16-ish years old before he had any idea that he needed to retract the foreskin of his uncircumcised pork sword, because it's not something either parent ever addressed. He mentioned the awful smell he admittedly gave off whilst having solo time, along with ol' Smeg Griffin hanging out in the folds. 100% he assumed it was all normal. He decides to take it upon himself to begin retracting what he could, bit by bit, using baby oil and whatnot. Needless to say, after a decade and a half, it didn't happen easily. He went to school barely able to walk from raw and torn skin, curious whether the sensitivity returned to any amount of average. Commenter 4, bro, I know your asshole was maddeningly itchy as fuck. How are you not scooting around in the grass like a dog every day I was washing my asshole every day? And still had an itchy butthole often before getting a bidet and baby wipes for when not at home, because I couldn't stand it. Changed my life, BTW. I don't care how you endured that for years. Stories number 22. I helped my friend get a house, but now she's acting like it's only hers. What would you do in my situation? We are late 20s. I recently moved to another state for my master's and reconnected with a friend I knew here. She's a single mom and her ex doesn't help at all. Financially or with their kid, she works overnight caring for a baby, then spends all day with her own son. So she literally never gets a break and barely sleeps. When I first got here, she was so kind. She picked me up from the airport, showed me around, and even lent me her car before mine arrived. She was trying to move out and bring her mom and brother to help with the baby and support each other. But because she works under the table and has a poor credit score, she kept getting rejected for rentals. It broke my heart seeing her so desperate, especially because I am a mom myself. Neither her ex nor his family would co-sign for her, so I offered that we rent a place together, and my husband could co-sign. I'll only be there about 5 months a year since I travel back and forth, but the lease is for a year. My husband wasn't thrilled but trusted my judgment. Fast forward, we finally found a place and got approved. And that's where everything begins. What has happened so far? The night before move-in, she texted me asking if I could show up an hour later because she and her family wanted to pray in the house first. I was honestly really hurt, like, why can't I be there too? We are both Catholics and I'm also going to live there. Then the next day, she texted again, saying she was running late to pick up the keys and asked if I could come even later. That's when I snapped and told her I thought it was rude to exclude me and ask me that. She replied with, I really appreciate you helping us get this house, but it's always been for me and my family. We just wanted a private moment to pray together, and I don't know why you're overreacting. I was taking a nap, and when I woke up, I saw that she had sent me a message asking if I could wait to leave the room because the baby's dad was there, and he didn't know I was living with them. She said she doesn't want him to know because he might want to negotiate a lower child support. Now, I asked her how we would deal with this every time he goes there, because I might have something to do where I have to shower, leave the house, etc., and she said, I don't know. I don't know yet. My friend is coming to town to visit from Thursday, Sunday, but we'll sleep at another friend's house every day except Thursday. Thursday, I'll work overnight as a nanny, taking care of a newborn, and of course, my friend needs a place to sleep. So I texted my friend roommate explaining the situation, that I'd go to work at 9:30 p.m., and that my friend would sleep there, and I made the mistake, I guess, of asking if she was okay with it. She replied that she wasn't okay with it, that no one else but her family and I have slept in the same space as her baby, and that she does not feel comfortable because she doesn't know my friend. I told her I've known my friend for 12 years, and that I didn't think this was fair because I'm not her roommate. I'm also on the lease. She again told me I was creating a problem and that we need to have a mutual interest. I told her we needed to talk about house rules, but she said she's not interested. I told her we need to talk about the rules, because if I don't agree with something you are imposing, I don't want to keep living there. And she accused me of, if we don't agree with everything you say, then you'll put us on the street. Well, I never mentioned that. I just said I would not live there. They are in 3, I'm 1, unfortunately. That might mean they can't keep renting the place because they do not meet the requirements. It's a really hard. Any thoughts on the situation or how to best approach this? What would you do in my situation? She does not want to talk about house rules, and said she's too tired organizing the house and working. My friend is getting here in 2 days, and I have to rent an Airbnb for her. I'm so disappointed. And I feel like I'm in the right here, but she's starting to get in my head and make me question myself, wondering if I'm overreacting. Edit. To those telling me to move out, I can't. The lease states that even if I move out, I would still be financially responsible, meaning it will affect both my husband's and my credit scores if they don't pay. The only way to get out of the lease is by finding someone else to replace my husband and me, which she would never allow me to do. And I guess she would make a scene if I brought someone to show the house to, or everyone needs to sign agreeing to let us out. But then the landlord has to run their credit and income to see if they qualify, and they don't. So basically, I'm screwed. If anyone has any legal input on this, please let me know. The state is WA update over the weekend. I received messages from her trying to impose more rules, and I decided to finally impose some respect. We ended up going back and forth through text. I lost my patience, got rude, and told her to stop bothering me. She replied, "Are you serious? Don't you have manners?" That's when I told her that without me, she wouldn't even have this house. She denied it, saying she could have just rented an apartment instead. She also claimed she had other people who could have co-signed for her, but chose me because she wanted to help me too. So I said, if that's true, ask one of them to replace my husband on the lease. She agreed, and we decided to go to the management office. But just 30 minutes after that, her mom texted me asking what was going on. I explained, and she suggested that we all have a conversation. During that conversation, the mom admitted they didn't have anyone to replace my husband. I pointed out that her daughter had said otherwise, but then she turned around and lied, saying she never said that, even though I have the messages. That's when things got worse. She started accusing me of terrible things, saying I had texted her about wanting to hurt the child I babysit, which is absolutely false, that I pushed her son's playpen, which I did because it was blocking the stairs, and that I hurt him and his friend. Not true at all. I was completely shocked and asked her to prove it. She just said, I will. Throughout the whole talk, I was sitting down in a chair, talking, and using hand gestures as I usually do when I talk. At one point, her mom stood right in front of me, and when I kept gesturing while talking, my friend suddenly stood up and came toward me saying, "Don't touch my mom," as if I was about to do something. I told her to please move because I'd been sitting there the entire time, and her daughter was now trying to make it look like I was threatening them. She kept repeating on every opportunity that I was threatening her, which I absolutely was not. The conversation ended with her mom asking for 1 week to find someone who could replace my husband and me on the lease. I agreed and said that if nothing changes by then, I'll take legal action. Now, I'm realizing the situation might be worse than I thought, because I feel like she might try to frame me for something. I've installed a camera in my room for my own protection, and I'm planning to wait 5 more days to see if her mom follows through. I really don't want to involve the police because of their situation, but I'm trying to document everything, including on this post, just in case. I'll update again by next weekend. Stories number 23. Aita for telling my mom's family she refuses to take care of her own kids. A little backstory. My mom lives with my grandparents. I grew up in the household after my parents got divorced when I was 9. Before my parents got divorced. We lived in a different country because my dad's side of the family was there. When my parents got divorced, we moved to the USA with my mom's side of the family. My grandfather had always hated my dad, so he never came around when we moved to the USA. It was my first time meeting him. He was verbally abusive, and every day he picked an argument with me or my siblings. I think he hates us because he never acted like that with my cousins. One of my cousins lived there with my aunt, and she was his favorite grandchild. Because of the constant arguing, I was tired of being put down. So when I turned 18-20, I moved out to a room. I've been trying to convince my mom to move out into an apartment with me, because I want to live with her and my siblings, but also for the sake of my siblings. My mom never defended us. We were always told that that's just how he is, and to just do what he wants. But even then, he would always find something wrong with us. In April of this year, I moved into an apartment my mom found, and she was supposed to move in by the end of May. Every week she tells me she is moving in, but she never moves. She had 2 of my brothers move in. One is a minor. She would buy him a few noodle soups, a box of cereal, but no real food or any other essentials such as toilet paper, toothpaste, deodorant, etc. They don't clean, and I have to clean up after them. I let them know multiple times that everyone has to clean up after themselves, but they don't listen. They also smoke in the house despite me asking them not to. I don't care if they smoke, just not in the house. I told her multiple times how much I dislike this, and that she needs to move in to control her kids. I think she had them move in with me because she can't control them, but I don't want to take all this responsibility. It's now October, and she still hasn't moved in. I got tired of talking to her about these issues. I went over and told my grandmother and aunt about how she should have moved out months ago, how she barely buys them food, how they smoke in the house, and I don't like it. Now the entire family knows what's going on. My grandmother says that she wants my mom to move out. I don't talk to my grandfather, but I know how much he doesn't like my siblings. So I know that he wants them to move out. Now my mom is calling me asking me why I told my grandmother and aunt all this. I told her that I'm tired and I needed to talk to someone. She tells me that I should have talked to her, but every time I talk to her, she doesn't do anything, so I feel like there is no point in talking to her. Aita for sharing this information with her family. Update. Thank you everyone for your responses. I see her for who she is now. I was just feeling guilty. I'm looking into therapy. For everyone commenting about CPS, she already has a case with them. Her excuse for not moving is that she is working too much. And I should try to save face when it comes to family matters. I told my siblings that if they don't stop smoking in the house and start cleaning up, they would have to go back to my grandfather's house. I'm also talking to my landlord about changing the lease to just me. If not, I'm moving out when the lease is up. Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. You didn't need to talk to her about anything. She knows exactly what she's doing for her own kids. The problem is the truth, not who knows it. Commenter 2, I'm sorry. One is a minor that she's basically dumped on you with no support. You are in the US. Call CPS on her and your grandfather. For abandonment from her, abuse from him, complicity for grandmother and aunt. Stand up, you're an adult now. Speak out, reply. She already has a case with CPS. They are not much help because he hasn't been attending school. Commenter 3 NTA. In fact, you should have her move somewhere else with your siblings because the disrespect and the laziness is only going to get worse. Not better, unless you want the next several years of your life to be hell. Either you move out to a different place or your mom moves in with them. Make a plan. Set a deadline. And follow it, otherwise, you are just going to be a doormat and a bank account to these people. Commenter 4. It's sweet you are trying to look after yourself, family. Unfortunately, you are being financially and emotionally abused, and your siblings are being neglected. I suggest you start seeing a therapist because you have some generational trauma being passed down to you. I also suggest you find your own place to live on your own. Do not continue to let your mother financially abuse you. Report to children and youth that your minor siblings have been abandoned in your care, and then report to domestic relations to see if you can sue for child support. You may be able to win back support. Use this to support your siblings. Do not give money to your mother or siblings. They want things, they have to work for them. Any child support won should be put towards housing and food costs. Ask children and youth if they have resources for individuals in your situation. Family counseling. You aren't an asshole. You are the only adult in that family. Stories number 25. W. Ebte for telling my family they can take my brother in and if they think family should help family. Not going into minutia. People hate it when I talk too much. Can't be different written me, 37M, it's me, husband. 36M, accountant, love him to bits, son, 13M, student. Average kid who doesn't like my brother. I'm trying to learn anime for him. It's an uphill battle, brother, 32M. Not a member of the household, I want it to stay that way. Situation. My brother got kicked out of my would-be Esil's house. Reason? You don't talk shit to your buddies about a scary lawyer, and expect her to never find out. The Ask family wants me to take him in since we have an extra bedroom. We usually use it for my parents when they visit. Plus our house is big. The problem, you give brother anything? You might as well say goodbye to it forever. Toys, clothes, money, you name it. You're only seeing it again if you sneak into his room and take it, the fear. The second he steps in, the only way he leaves is if I chase him out with the metal bat I found in the basement when I moved here. He doesn't have a job. I don't want another kid to take care of. One is quite enough. Thank you very much. Also, every conversation he has with my son becomes an intervention. We said no, he is not getting a foot in. The bigger problem, family says we should help my brother because he's family and family should help family. We are saying no still, they have not stopped. Question. Wibta for sending family messages of, you think family should help family? I think that's a great idea. You should do it. And only ever saying that when they try to bring it up? Edit. Holy Johnson, this blew up. I talked to my husband and we wrote a modified version and sent that out on Mass Blast. We'll update y'all in a week or possibly later with the outcome. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Dude's burnt his bridges and now he gotta face the music. Fam's there for support. Stick to your guns. You got a kid and a home to look after. If other families so hell-bent on helping, they can step TF up. Bet they'll turn a 180 real quick. Don't let 'em guilt trip you. You clearly got your priorities straight. Reply. Think it'll burn bridges for me too? Commenter 2. Do you care? Reply. Kind of. I still love my family as they were the village that raised me and my brother and sister. But I really don't want to ruin my household's way of life or let him in just for appeasement. Baseball bat is on standby. Commenter 3. NTA. You have zero obligation to mother people's bad decisions. He's a grown-ass man, and if he hasn't learned to overcome adversity at his age, this is the perfect opportunity for a crash course. He cannot stay in your house. It would ruin whatever peace at home you have. The definition of family to the people you've posted about is codependent and unhealthy. Reply. It's what I'm worried about too. I can't live with someone who hates my son. Protecting my peace from parasites comes first. Just worried I may set off a serious drama bomb. Commenter 4. Whoa, hates your son? That's enough right there. Reply. Hearing you guys made me think about it more. Why else would my bro have these conversations, trying to change who my son is if my bro actually loved his nephew? Commenter 5. You have an early teen child in the house. Your brother is not the sort of daily influence and example you want in your home. Protect him and keep saying nope. Reply. I can't subject him to that. It would be exhausting if I had to have an intervention every single day. Commenter 6. No, you're not. Why are you the first port of call and not anyone else? Reply. I have the biggest house. I think everyone is assuming I am the best fit. Commenter 6. Would he be desperate enough to break in? Reply. I sure hope not. I don't think his bones would survive a very fit, regular exercising man with a metal baseball bat. Update. WABT for telling family they can take my brother in if they think family should help family. Preliminary address. Thank you for your time and advice, Reddit. Your advice and care for my son has been so lovely. Be ye genuine, or be ye spectators awaiting the next chapter in an entertaining story. I appreciated it. Didn't tell husband and son the statement. Husband helped me write this in a professional-ish way, and contacted Joe's Nighthawk ex, who is a lawyer. Nighthawk hasn't officially taken a case, but we thought she would be able to help us write a serious-sounding letter by giving pointers and revising to add gravitas. For the sake of readability, I will give people fake names. I will use Smith for a fake family surname and Joe for my brother. Just for readability, lower your pitchforks. For I am not going to subject all of you to the same letter we sent to our family group chat. But I will share the ending. If anyone feels strongly that Joe needs a place, our door is not the one to knock on, but yours absolutely could be. We fully support anyone in the family opening their home to him and showing how family support is done. We love you all, but we're not sacrificing our home's stability to prove our loyalty. That is our final word on the matter with love and boundaries. OP and family. If anyone wants the full letter, request it in the comments. I feel like I'm already pushing it with post length. The after effects. The communications assault ceased after 2 days of us turning it against them. No one has threatened to burn bridges or exclude us from family events. They tried to use the bad family card, but we just played it back at them, accusing them of being bad family. I underestimated how much people can just spam it. The secondary incident, we may have dodged a big bullet. I really don't like going on too long, but I don't know how to make this shorter without making it blander than unseasoned. Unbuttered rice. Before this, we talked to the police, and thanks to my hubby's connections, they knew the situation in the event Joe broke in and tried to claim residency. We made it clear, Joe is not a resident in any capacity, and we don't want him in the house unless we invite him. We are on a weekend trip to my in-laws' place, who are very much just the loving aunties and grandmas. They are non-drama people and respect boundaries. Yesterday, I get a call from my parents saying Joe got into trouble with the police. Fortunately, he was not arrested, and he was not harmed, apparently. He showed up to our house at night, and he tried to get us to let him in. But no one was around, but he tried harder. Neighbors called the cops because they didn't know who it was, and thought we were being robbed. Cops showed up, and I don't know everything. But my mom told me that the cops told her that he tried to claim residency. But that was false, and they knew. And then Joe told the cops he didn't have a home. The cops told my parents that either they could pick up Joe, or they'd get a shelter and other services involved. Parents ended up having to drive to pick him up late at night, and now Joe is crashing on their couch. Other news, Joe's ex, Nighthawk as I called her before on my past post, bite me. It works and my husband are still friends, and says she's never taking Joe back to her nest. Joe might have lost a lover, but Son didn't lose an aunt. Son is doing okay. It's still an uphill battle to understand anime, but he likes the effort I put in. He said he was happy he didn't have to live with Joe. I didn't tell him about the concern you all showed for him, but I think that's fine. Probably safer this way. Conclusion. Family now has to put their money where their mouth is. Joe is fine. Our asses are covered. We're fine and safe. I'm sorry if this is too long. Tried to make it brief, but I couldn't. TLDR. We wrote a formal statement, sent it, covered our asses. After a brief but calm altercation with the police, Joe is now with our parents. Additional information from OP, sharing the letter they sent to the Smith family reply. I'll share, people of the Smith family. For anyone who hasn't heard it yet, Mr. Joe Smith asked us for a place to stay after a recent breakup with Ms. Nighthawk. Members of our household have talked it over, and we came to the conclusion that Joe Smith would not make for a suitable tenant in our household. We understand some people believe family should help family, and we do not completely deny this statement. However, help does not always mean to allowing people to move in for an undefined amount of time. Given past history, which everyone reading this knows about, let's not pretend otherwise. The already strained relationship between Joe and certain household members. This was already tenuous. We also have a statement from Mims. Nighthawk that Joe never was employed while living with her, and their arrangement was financially parasitic in nature. Based on the current state of Mr. Joe Smith's employment, we believe this will be no different for us. Hosting Mr. Joe Smith would not be healthy for anyone under our roof. If anyone feels strongly that Joe needs a place, our door is not the one to knock on, but yours absolutely could be. We fully support anyone in the family opening their home to him and showing how family support is done. We love you all, but we're not sacrificing our home's stability to prove our loyalty. That is our final word on the matter. Much love. OP and family. The impression we were trying to give off is, we're so serious we're talking like officials. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Great resolution, well done. Bet you love breathed a sigh of relief. Reply, yes, we couldn't have hoped for better. No punched faces, no legal fees. Commenter 2. Bravo for connecting with the police to head off your brother's bullshit claim that he lived there. Reply, Nighthawk's advice came in handy. Commenter 3. I have a few questions, issues here. All he did was talk about a scary lawyer. Why's that so horrible? Bro is a male 32, and ruins and or never returns anything given to him. OP sneaks into bro's room to retrieve anything when bro 32 isn't home. Have I got that right? And they give male 32 toys still? I'm missing thing. Why doesn't bro 32 male have a job and his own place to live? What's wrong with bro that prevents him from working and in getting his own place? Even with questions, OP, your NTAH, ya fam is the AH for demanding you take on this 32-man child. Stand firm. Reply, 1. The nighthawk of a woman that my brother dated can be very terrifying at times. And my brother still thought it was a good idea to say insulting things behind her back to his friends, the nighthawk found out. And it killed the respect she had for him. I stopped giving bro anything after I snuck into his room when I was 14 to get back the Game Boy I gave him to borrow. I found it with yogurt marks on the screen. Never again. Ever since I stopped giving him things, I have not needed to steal anything back. 3. He has told me every excuse in the book. From not liking people to not liking the job itself. I think he's lazy, but who knows. But still, thanks anyway. OOP clarifies details on why Joe was kicked out by his ex and why he was breaking into OOP's house. Reply: Joe was gossiping with his buddies and saying mean things about Nighthawk behind her back. I saw the texts from the screenshots. I won't repeat, but it was awful, hence, that killed any trust Nighthawk had in Joe and their relationship. Though the second part about the break-in, I don't think Joe was trying to break in. My mom only told me so much, but apparently Joe's phone had died. And I think Joe thought someone was home, and thought making enough noise would get attention. We'll do a sweep of the outside when we get back, though. Commenter 4. How did a badass Nighthawk end up with your brother? Reply: I don't know. Hearts are weird, opposites attract. I have no idea. Love was love, until it died for them. Commenter 5. I want to ask what you are having difficulties with about anime. What anime does your son like? Maybe you can ask him why he likes it. Maybe you guys can look at videos about storytelling and art direction. Reply: he likes how imaginative it is, I think, as well as how it looks. I'll admit, it looks really cool, but I can barely remember plot for shit. Commenter 6. I do find anime has plot while other cartoons might have been one-offs. Perhaps you can read some summaries to see what the overall plot line is so you can place where you are in an episode. Reply: don't get me wrong. I'm amazed that there are people so creative out there. I probably couldn't conceive half of these ideas if I didn't do copious drugs, but I just feel myself unable to keep up sometimes. The closest thing I got to understanding an anime is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and all I got of that was first 2 parts were people punching with the power of the sun, and after that it's something about unique spirit things giving special powers. Son says he likes the fights in that because every battle is like a puzzle, and when I asked him who the strongest was, he said no one. And that's why it's great. I barely know shit about the characters and spirit things, so I am taking his word for it. Update 2. Aita for rubbing it into my parents that their idea was stupid. I don't think this is an update, but correct me if I'm wrong. Will cross-post to the designated sub for it. For those who came late, my brother Joe killed all trust in his relationship with his ex, Nighthawk. He got kicked out after a Cold War and what my neighbors thought might have been a break-in attempt. Joe is now living with my parents, mildly necessary recent events. Parents don't like the fact Joe is financially parasitic and doesn't help out. Parents' solution: get Nighthawk to take him back. There's a problem. Nighthawk has no respect for Joe, so they wanted to do a grand gesture to reignite the spark. My involvement: I told my parents that this idea was awful, and they'd be lucky if Nighthawk didn't summon the entire flock to hunt their butts down. My husband agreed because he wanted to make sure they knew what they were getting into. Even my son said it best, that it wasn't a Hallmark movie, and that it won't work out. The problem: my parents did it anyway. I know because Nighthawk called me about my parents and Joe a party ambush in the parking lot of where she worked. I'm told she chewed out Joe and my parents. My son delivered this zinger when I talked about it. I think I would have preferred an actual ambush if I was Aunt Nighthawk. Would have given me justification to use the brick I would have kept in my purse. I have talked to son about violence. Don't worry, my parents also told me about the incident and how it failed. They called me cruel, saying I should have at least tried to help. I did something I regret. I remembered yelling at them about how stupid of an idea it was, that it was never going to work. And it was self-preservation that led me to not be an accomplice. I also said they were unhappy with the graves they dug. They should have put down the shovel a long time ago. My mom started panicking over the phone, and then I hung up. My guilt: I don't like yelling at people. I don't like hurting people. Would I whack someone with a metal bat to save my family? Yes, but this isn't hitting someone with a metal bat. This is emotionally cutting someone. I need judgment, relevant comments. Commenter 1. Well, we parents sometimes need to yell at our children to get the point across. You have 3 children there. Brother, mom, and dad. And you yelled. Take off a few points for doing it in anger, but honestly, it sounds like you're at the end of your rope. NTA, but thank you for an entertaining post. OMG. I had fun imagining this parking lot party. Were there balloons? Please tell me there were balloons, reply. I remember Nighthawk mentioned that and a cake, though she said it was cathartic taking her car keys to the balloons. Commenter 2. You did try to help. You told them it was a bad idea and your husband backed you up. They refused to listen to you, so it's 100% on them. Parents sometimes need to learn lessons too. NTA in any way except for possibly being too vague. Reply, thanks. I was trying to keep it brief since I didn't want to waste too much time. Oopie's parents need to grow a spine and tell Joe to leave. Reply, I wish my family wasn't this stupid. But Nighthawk wasn't the first person they tried to drop Joe on. They tried it with me first. They also tried my sister. But my sister had help from her landlady in shutting down that idea. I don't think my parents knew the full story. How mean and insulting the stuff Joe said about Nighthawk was. Stories number 26. I don't even belong to an HOA, okay? So this all started about 6 months ago, when my girlfriend and I finally moved into our first house together. We're in our early 30s, and we'd been saving for years to get out of renting. The house we found was this small, older place in a quiet cul-de-sac on the edge of town. It wasn't fancy, but it had a big oak tree in the yard, a nice porch, and a sense of calm that we both needed after years of apartment living. For context, my name's Marcus, and my girlfriend is Kelly. She's a nurse who works long shifts, and I work from home doing IT support. So during the day, I'm the one who's around the neighborhood most. At first, things seemed great. The neighbors were polite but quiet. Across the street lived an older couple, the Fergusons. Sweet people who brought us a basket of muffins the first week. Next door to them was this guy named Don, mid-50s, always in cargo shorts, always mowing something. The kind of guy who'd tell you he used to be in management but never specify what kind. Then, to our left, there was a woman named Cheryl. I'll never forget her because she introduced herself by saying, I'm the unofficial neighborhood coordinator. That should have been my first red flag. The first weird thing happened about 2 weeks after we moved in. I got a letter, not in the mail, just tucked into our screen door. It was printed on white paper, written in this formal, slightly passive-aggressive tone, and at the bottom, it said Maple Oaks Homeowners Association. The thing is, we don't have an HOA. When we bought the house, that was one of the main selling points. No HOA fees. No restrictions about what kind of mailbox you can have. None of that nonsense, but the letter said, Dear resident, it has come to our attention that your garbage cans have been visible from the street. As per neighborhood guidelines, please store all trash receptacles behind a fence or enclosure. Repeat violations may incur a fine. I laughed at first. A fine? From who? There was no HOA. I showed the letter to Kelly that night. She looked at it, squinted, and said, Wait, this isn't even on letterhead. This looks like something Cheryl would do. And she was right. The next day, I saw Cheryl out front, pruning her rose bushes with the precision of a military drill sergeant. I walked over, letter in hand, and said, Hey, I got this weird note about trash cans. It says it's from an HOA. She smiled, this tight customer service smile, and said, Oh, yes, I've been helping organize things around here since there's no official HOA. We just like to keep the neighborhood tidy, you know? We've all sort of agreed on a few standards, I said. Yeah, but there's no actual HOA, right? She said, Not officially, but we like to keep some order. Then she looked at my yard and added, For instance, some people have been concerned about that oak tree. It drops a lot of leaves. That's when I realized what I was dealing with. A self-appointed HOA president of a neighborhood that doesn't even have an HOA. I just said, Got it, and went back inside. I figured if I ignored it, she'd get bored and move on. Spoiler, she did not. A week later, another letter showed up. This one was even more ridiculous. Dear resident, we noticed your front porch light remains on throughout the night. This can contribute to light pollution and disturb other residents' sleep. Please consider installing a timer. Failure to comply may result in a $25 fine. I burst out laughing again. I mean, light pollution? My porch light was a tiny bulb, and we left it on for safety. Kelly didn't find it funny. She said, This is harassment. We should report her. I wasn't ready to escalate things, though I figured I'd outsmart her instead. So I printed a letter of my own. It looked exactly like hers. Same format, same tone, but mine said, Dear Cheryl, it has come to our attention that your rose bushes are encroaching on public sidewalk space. Please trim them back to ensure compliance with Maple Oaks Neighborhood Ordinance 12. Failure to comply may result in a $50 fine. Sincerely, the Maple Oaks Homeowners Association. I signed it. Secretary Maple Oaks HOA. The next morning, I slipped it into her mailbox. A few days later, I saw her out there with a pair of garden shears, hacking away at her roses like they'd personally insulted her. I felt a tiny pang of guilt, but mostly satisfaction. But that's when things started to get weird. About a week later, I got another letter, this one in a manila envelope, with notice of violation stamped on the top. It was 3 pages long and listed multiple infractions. Grass longer than 3 inches, unapproved lawn ornament. A ceramic frog Kelly had put near the steps, failure to remove Halloween decorations in a timely manner. It was mid-November. Okay, maybe fair at the bottom. It said I owed $75 in fines. That's when I knew I had to shut this down. I called the city to ask if Maple Oaks had any kind of homeowners association registered. The clerk looked it up and said, "Nope, that subdivision doesn't have any HOA on record." Then she paused and said, "Wait, this isn't about Cheryl, is it?" Apparently, I wasn't the first person to call. She told me Cheryl had been enforcing fake rules for years. Most people just went along with it because they didn't want drama. That afternoon, I went over to Cheryl's house. She answered the door, all smiles again. Like nothing was weird, I said, "Hey Cheryl, I checked with the city. There's no HOA, so I'd appreciate it if you'd stop putting fake fines on my door." Her smile dropped instantly. "Excuse me?" I said. "You heard me. If you have a problem with my trash cans or porch light, come talk to me like a neighbor, not a dictator." She crossed her arms and said, "Some of us just care about the community, Marcus. Maybe if everyone did their part?" "Yeah," I said, cutting her off, "but the community didn't elect you." She didn't have a response to that. Just slammed the door. For a while things went quiet. I thought maybe she'd gotten the message. But then I started hearing rumors. Apparently, she was telling people that I was rude, that I didn't care about property values. Whatever. I ignored it. Until one morning, I came outside to find a bright orange violation notice taped to my mailbox. It said my mailbox color didn't match the neighborhood palette. That was the last straw. I took a picture of it, printed a few copies, and posted them on the community bulletin board with a note that said, "Friendly reminder, there is no HOA in Maple Oaks. Any letters or fines you receive are not legally enforceable. If someone is claiming otherwise, please contact the city clerk." I didn't sign my name. The next few days were chaos. Apparently Cheryl had been fining half the neighborhood. People were furious. The Fergusons came over to thank me, saying Cheryl once told them their American flag was too large. Another guy down the street said she fined him for having an RV parked too visibly. It was like a suburban revolution. Within a week, the city sent someone to have a chat with her. I don't know what they said, but Cheryl stopped handing out letters. Her roses grew wild, untrimmed, and for the first time, her porch light stayed off at night. The quiet after all that felt strange. A few weeks later, I was out raking leaves when she walked past with her little dog. She didn't make eye contact, but she mumbled, "Some people don't appreciate order." I smiled and said, "Some people appreciate peace." That was the last conversation we ever had. Now, 6 months later, the neighborhood feels normal. People actually talk to each other instead of going through her. The Fergusons even started a group chat for yard sales and lost pets, a voluntary one, not run by Cheryl sometimes. When I see her walking by, I almost feel bad. Almost. But then I remember the $25 light pollution fine, and I can't help but laugh. Every time I take the trash cans out front, I leave them there for an extra day, just because I can. No fines, no rules, no fake authority, just peace. And the freedom of knowing that, no matter what Cheryl says, I still don't belong to an HOA update. She tried to start a real HOA. Hey everyone, it's been about 4 months since I posted about Cheryl, my self-appointed HOA president in a neighborhood that doesn't actually have an HOA. I figured the situation had calmed down, but oh boy, I was wrong. So after my last post, life went back to being normal, or at least what passes for normal in Maple Oaks. People started waving again. The Fergusons brought us banana bread. Dawn actually offered to mow my lawn once when I was out sick. The neighborhood had this whole new "we survived" Cheryl energy. And it was kind of great. But apparently, Cheryl doesn't like to lose control. It started subtle, like all neighborhood nonsense does. She stopped walking her dog past my house, for one thing. She started pruning her roses again, which, weirdly, made me think maybe she was softening up. And she even waved at Kelly once when they crossed paths in the driveway. Then, one Saturday morning, I got a knock at my door. It was Dawn. Cargo shorts, sunglasses, holding a piece of paper like it was radioactive. He said, "Hey man, have you seen this?" The paper was a flyer. At the top it said, announcing the formation of the official Maple Oaks Homeowners Association. Underneath that, there was a list of proposed benefits: community beautification, unified property standards, and protection of neighborhood integrity. At the bottom, it said there would be a community meeting at Cheryl's house the following Wednesday evening. I stared at it and said, "Is she serious?" Don laughed and said, "I think she's trying to make it official this time." The whole neighborhood was buzzing about it by Monday. Some people thought it was hilarious. Some were nervous. Others, mostly the older folks, said, "Well, maybe it's not such a bad idea. We could organize snow removal or something." Kelly, of course, was livid. "No way," she said. "You just got rid of her fake HOA. She's not dragging you into a real one." But I was curious, and maybe a little stupid. So I went to the meeting. There were about 15 of us crowded into Cheryl's living room, which was decorated like Martha Stewart's Pinterest board exploded. Everywhere you looked, there were signs that said, "Live, Laugh, Love," and bowls of decorative pine cones. Cheryl stood at the front, wearing a pastel blazer like she was running for office. "Thank you all for coming," she said, smiling that tight smile I knew too well. "I think it's time we bring some organization to Maple Oaks. As you know, our community has been a little chaotic lately." Her eyes flicked toward me for just a second. She continued, "Without some structure, property values could plummet, standards could slip. We need to protect what we've built." Then she passed out draft bylaws. I kid you not. It was a 10-page packet. 10 pages. It covered everything from lawn height to acceptable mailbox colors to noise limits for outdoor gatherings. It even had a section about holiday decor duration. And there, near the bottom, it said, "All residents will be expected to contribute a $150 annual fee to fund neighborhood initiatives." Someone, I think it was Mrs. Ferguson, raised her hand and asked, "What exactly are we paying for?" Cheryl said, "Oh, small things, maintenance, signage. Maybe landscaping for the cul-de-sac. It's really just symbolic." I couldn't help myself. I said, "So we'd be paying you, basically." Her smile tightened again. "I would be volunteering my time to coordinate things, Marcus." The room went awkwardly quiet. Then Don spoke up. "What if we don't want an HOA?" Cheryl blinked. "Well, if the majority agrees, we can move forward. We'll just need signatures." "Majority of what?" I asked. "You can't just invent a homeowners association out of thin air. The houses aren't deeded into one. You'd have to amend property titles, get legal documentation, register it with the city. It's not that simple." Her face went red. I could see her trying to keep calm. "Well, I've spoken to a lawyer," she said. "It can be done if there's enough community support." At that point, I knew exactly what she was doing. Trying to bully people into signing. I stood up and said, "For anyone here who's unsure, Cheryl has no legal authority over this neighborhood. None. This isn't how HOAs are formed, and if you sign anything, you're just giving her control she never had." Then I walked out. Apparently, half the room followed me a few days later. I got another knock at the door, this time from Mrs. Ferguson. She said Cheryl had been going door to door, trying to get signatures for the good of the community. But she'd been acting cagey, not explaining the fine print, so I called the city again. I explained what she was doing, and the clerk sighed and said, "You again, huh? I'll make a note. She can't legally form an HOA without full property owner consent and proper filings, but if she's misrepresenting it, that's a problem." The next week, a city official came by Cheryl's house. I don't know what was said, but she looked furious afterward. Then, get this, she put her house up for sale. We all thought she was bluffing, but the for sale sign went up within a week. The listing said, "Charming home and well-maintained community with strong neighborhood values." The irony was unreal. She moved out 2 months later. No goodbye, no wave, just gone. The funny part? A young couple bought her house. Super chill people. Matt and Brooke. And now her once pristine roses have completely overgrown the fence. There's a plastic skeleton in their yard that's been there since July. Every time I see it, I smile. But here's the twist. A few days ago, Don texted me a photo. It was Cheryl. She was at the next neighborhood over, walking around with a clipboard. Apparently, she's doing the same thing there, trying to organize them. I guess some people just need to be in charge. As for Maple Oaks, we're still gloriously HOA free. We even made a little wooden sign for the entrance that says, "Welcome to Maple Oaks. No fees, no fines, no fuss." Kelly painted it herself, and sometimes, when I sit on the porch with the light on, all night, just because I can, I think about Cheryl somewhere out there, drafting new bylaws, and I can't help but chuckle, because now finally peace in Maple Oaks isn't just quiet. It's earned. Final update, the return of the HOA queen. Hey everyone. I didn't think I'd ever have to write another update about Cheryl, but somehow, she's like a ghost that refuses to move on until she's completed unfinished business. It's been a little over 2 years since she moved out of Maple Oaks. For the most part, things have been peaceful. Kelly and I had our daughter, Emily, last spring. The neighborhood really became one big family. Cookouts, yard sales, even a no HOA day block party every July where everyone decorates their lawns with ridiculous, over-the-top stuff just to celebrate our freedom from rules. For a while, I thought Cheryl was just a weird chapter of suburban legend we'd laugh about at barbecues. But apparently, that woman has a talent for reinvention and obsession. About 2 months ago, a letter showed up in our mailbox. It wasn't from her directly, but the return address was a community standards committee from a neighborhood 3 towns over, Brookdale Ridge. At first, I thought it was spam, but then I opened it. Inside was a glossy newsletter that looked weirdly familiar. It had updates about landscaping, community expectations, and a whole column signed by President Cheryl Whitmore. I actually burst out laughing. I called Kelly into the room and we read it together. She had apparently succeeded. She'd finally created a real HOA. But the laugh wore off when I flipped to the last page. There was a photo, a community outreach project, and in that photo, I saw my old neighbor Don. He wasn't smiling. He looked like he'd been caught mid-sentence, almost awkwardly standing off to the side. I texted him right away. He wrote back a few hours later. "Yeah, dude, I moved to Brookdale last year. Guess who's here?" Apparently, Cheryl had somehow helped the new neighborhood form their HOA when she moved there. It started innocent. Newsletters, community cleanups. But then she got herself voted onto the board. Within months, she was running the place, and now, she'd been using Maple Oaks as an example of what happens without order. I wish I were kidding. Dawn told me she gives speeches about unregulated communities and how they fall into disrepair. She even name-dropped me, referring to me as a certain homeowner who encouraged disorder. So, yeah, I'm apparently the villain in Cheryl's morality play. The funny thing is, after all that drama, life here couldn't be better. Maple Oaks thrives on the chaos she used to hate. People paint their mailboxes however they want. Kids leave bikes on the sidewalks. And somehow everything still feels like home. But then it got weird again, one Friday afternoon. I came home to find a little note taped to our front door. It read, "Property value concerns extend beyond neighborhood lines. Be advised that visible clutter, excessive lighting, and unkempt yards affect the perception of nearby communities." There was no signature, but it was printed in that same serif font Cheryl always used in her official letters. Kelly thought it was hilarious. "You've got to frame this," she said. But honestly, it creeped me out a little. A week later, I spotted a familiar car parked down the street. A silver Lexus SUV, Cheryl's old car. She was sitting inside, sunglasses on, just watching. When I stepped out onto the porch, she drove off slowly, like she didn't want to make eye contact. That was when I realized this wasn't about Maple Oaks. It was about control. I'd embarrassed her. I'd publicly stood up to her, and I think she just couldn't let that go. A few neighbors spotted her again over the next couple of days, driving through, stopping briefly near her old house, sometimes just sitting at the stop sign. It was unsettling, but she never said a word to anyone. Then one morning, the Fergusons' mailbox had another note on it. Same paper, same font, same message about community standards. This time, I decided to act. I went to the police. They told me they couldn't do much unless she trespassed or harassed us directly. But they did agree to check in. A week later, Cheryl's car stopped showing up. But 2 weeks after that, Don called. "Dude, you won't believe this," he said. Apparently, she'd resigned from her HOA board, effective immediately. The official reason? Personal stress due to unresolved community conflicts. That was the last official record of her involvement. But a few months later, someone posted in a local Facebook group, "Does anyone know a Cheryl who used to live in Brookdale Ridge? She's starting a consulting business for HOAs. The business name? Whitmore Community Solutions." I honestly had to respect the audacity. So yeah, I guess Cheryl finally found her calling. Not tormenting one neighborhood, But trying to advise many, sometimes, when Kelly and I sit on the porch watching Emily toddle around the yard, I think about Cheryl and how her whole identity was wrapped up in controlling things she never actually owned. And then I look around at our imperfect, lively, unregulated little community, where kids scream, sprinklers run too long, and someone's got Christmas lights still up in June. And I realize that's exactly what freedom looks like. We even made a new sign this year, bigger, brighter, hand-painted by all the neighborhood kids. It says Maple Oaks, no dues, no rules, no Cheryl. And every time I see it, I laugh, because for all her rules, bylaws, and endless control, Cheryl never understood the one thing that really keeps a neighborhood alive. People who actually like each other. So that's the end of the story. No more fake HOAs. No more letters. No more Lexus sightings. Just a peaceful cul-de-sac full of real neighbors, real noise, and a hard-earned sense of peace. At least until someone decides to run for neighborhood president again. But if they do, well, I've got Cheryl's old flyers in a drawer somewhere, and a big red Sharpie that says nope.